Hello, my fellow movie fans, and welcome to another episode of A Feast of Films Theatre with your hosts, Matthew Ayalew and Ethan R. Hill. How's that? That was good?
Yeah. Classic. Classic.
Hello, my fellow movie fans, and welcome to another episode of A Feast of Films. This is episode 29, part 1. I'm Ethan R. Hill, and with me, as always, is...
Matthew Ayalew, what's up, people? What's good? What's good?
How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing pretty good.
Had a good week?
Yeah, not a bad week. Watched some pretty good TV and some good shows and some old movies and some new movies. It's been a really enjoyable week. That's all I gotta say about that.
Oh, good. And then, pretty much same for me. It's been a bit of a week, but,
Wow, riveting.
I know.
This
I'm
is like
so
the most
tired,
riveting
man.
podcast content ever. How was your week? It was good.
I mean, I think...
Oh, yeah. How was
Man,
yours?
you
It was
think-
good.
I think maybe we need to
Well,
bring
that's
something in
good.
extra to spice things up then.
Oh, man.
You think we need to bring in something extra to spice things up a bit?
I think we might be. We might just be losing our edge, Ethan. And we just need to bring in some fresh new blood.
Well, I guess, it's a good thing Jesse Prosser's here then, eavesdropping the whole time. How are you doing, Jesse?
I'm doing pretty great, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, Jesse is with us this week. He's our special guest. Welcome to the show, Prosser. It's good to have you around. If you guys don't know, he does a lot of our editing and stuff for us. And he lives with Ethan, so he was a very convenient guest to bring on because they're in the
10
same
years.
house.
We've
Yeah.
lived together for 10 years.
Yeah.
There was a
long
lot
time,
of
man.
contract negotiations. My fee was discussed at length. Yeah, lots of stuff going on with that to make this whole thing happen. But I'm here now, and hopefully I'll be an entertaining addition to the cast here.
Well, with how riveting me and Ethan's weeks have been, I'm sure you cannot do worse than that.
How was your week, Prosser? Let's see if you can top it.
Oh my
It was
goodness.
good.
It was good. I watched movies and it was nothing really happened.
It
Yeah.
was good.
Yeah, in review, it was pretty good. It's pretty good. No, honestly, I've been super busy lately. I've actually been working as a PA on a film set, so long hours, but on
What's
a
a
hiatus
PA?
right now.
Majority of people don't know what a PA is.
Yes, of course.
It's a
It would
pissant?
be. I mean, kind of, not really. No, not at all. It is a production assistant.
A poo analyst?
Yes,
It's
obviously.
pretty much the same thing, I think, yeah.
Yeah, but basically, like you go for this, you go for that. Basically, trying to make sure things go according to plan on location, and yeah, like it's a pretty solid gig, I would say. But
Nice.
it's been a long week, but I'm here now, and I'm here to have a good time, talk about some movies with you guys.
Let's do it then.
How good of a time can it be with you here?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You know, I agreed not to curse on this thing, and you guys are already making fun of me. Like,
Okay, to be fair, it was just Ethan. I'm just
I was
saying-
gonna
say,
That's
yeah,
true.
like,
don't
That's
lump Matt in
true,
with me.
okay? Let's just be fair. Let's be
Alright,
fair
alright.
here.
okay,
You're
know.
just gonna
Okay.
drag Matt along with me? That's kind of rude.
That is
No,
rude, man.
No, the fun
I
thing
am
about
my
this will
own
be
person.
that's true. I apologize, Matt. I did not mean to lump you in. No, the fun thing about this is when you guys, when Ethan makes fun of me now, he has to do it to my face. It's gonna be great.
I do it to your face anyway.
That's true.
This is how you make sure you don't get on a second episode. You have to let me make fun of you, or else you're just not allowed back.
I'm gonna be the good old jump the shark with this episode having me on. Oh my goodness.
Gosh, I'm gonna have to bring my wife on. I feel like I'm third wheeling it here, boys.
Isn't it jumping the whale, Prosser?
Jumping the
Jumping
whale.
shark,
Yeah, pretty accurate.
Jumping the walrus.
Cuckoo, cachoo.
And there's Ringo again.
Oh no, not Ringo! Quick,
Peace
let's move
and
on
love,
before
man. Peace
before
and love.
Ringo takes over. So,
All
yeah,
right,
we got a
boys. Let's
pretty
talk about
decent-
some movies. Let's talk about.
We got a
some
pretty
movies.
decent episode lined up for us. We're gonna talk first part movies of 2006.
Yeah.
What we liked, what we didn't like. didn't liked. Wow. Man, I'm sorry. I'm just so exhausted. My brain is just not working, and I'm hosting this week. Good choice. Good choice. We should have made Prosper the host.
Yeah.
Would have been a lot smoother. And then the second episode, though. Second episode, we're going to talk about our opinions of what the worst inventions in film history were. I'm curious to hear what the you two guys have to say.
Yeah, man, that's a great
I have some strong
topic.
opinions.
That's a great topic, and I have some really strong opinions on my opinion. I have some multiple strong opinions on my one opinion of
Same
what is
here.
terrible. But that's next week. That'll be the next week episode.
Yep, but for this week, 2006, I guess, Matt, there's three of us now. Who's gonna? How do we know who was first?
Well, Prosser is the guest, so I think
We
the
really-
guest should go first.
No, I think we should ignore him for the entire episode and just have me and you talk, and then ask
At the
him last
very end,
minute for any additional
Prosser,
thoughts.
we didn't get to you, but leave it down in the comment section, okay, Prosser? Cool.
I'll just put an editorial note. Like, I'll just be like, so Matt and Ethan forgot I existed, so I'm just going to talk for the next 20 minutes about...
I was in the podcast, but you didn't get to hear my point, so I'm just going to type it out in the comment section.
Yep, basically.
Like a novel.
Oh, for sure.
What's up?
Yeah, no. So movies
So,
from
are we
2000.
good with that? You want to start, Prosser? I mean, you don't have to, I guess.
Yeah, if you want one of us, we can put you in the middle.
Yeah, like, let's say one of you guys goes, and then I will
Prosser
kind of pick up
sandwich.
from there. A Prosser sandwich, oh my god.
Ham between well-bred people.
God damn it.
You're welcome.
Oh, this is going to be a riot, let me tell you.
You want me to go first, or do you want to go first, Matt? How you feeling?
I can go first.
Like, overall, Matt, did you notice, like, I guess Matt and Prosser, sorry, I gotta get used to actually addressing both of you. Overall, like, you guys noticed that there was a lot of, like, I felt like there was a lot of comedies, like, really silly, ridiculous comedies, and family films. Like, there's a lot of good films, too, but, like, mostly it was dominated by those two genres.
Yeah, I would agree with that. When I was going through the list 2006, there's a lot of films on there. Like, we're right in like this 2007, 2006, probably 2005, a little bit in 2008 is kind of like my sweet spot of like teenage goofy like comedies that I just loved. That like some of them are really really good and are on my list. Others maybe not so much, but like there's so much just like great comedic content coming out this time that I just loved. So yeah, no, I definitely noticed a lot of the comedies, but there was also some like really serious dramas in here too. Like there's some pretty heavy stuff that came out this year.
Oh, yeah.
That's
100%.
like really, really high quality, great filmmaking in 2006 too. So I would say overall, like 2006 was a really solid year. And I know we say that a lot. But we all know some years are really solid, some years are very middle ground, some years are amazing. Other years are dog crap. Like it's just the way it is.
I think,
Yeah.
what was
It's
it,
like a box of
2011
chocolates.
was
You
like
never
the
know what
worst
you're
one?
gonna get. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
2011,
cherry-filled,
2010,
weird stuff.
somewhere in there. It was somewhere in there. There was like a year where we're just like, what is this? What is
Why? Why were they making movies this year?
just why? Just why? What are your thoughts,
Why?
Prosser? What do you think 2006?
I mean, honestly, like, based on all the stuff I looked at when I looked at the list, like, I did notice a lot of the comedies and all that, but I kind of, there's a lot of movies that I picked that I completely didn't realize they all came out in the same year. Like, a lot of really great dramas came out in 2006, and I'm really excited to discuss a lot of them, because, like, I don't want to get into it yet because we're not talking about the movies, but like there's some movies I just absolutely love that came out this year, and I had no idea they all came out in this year. So
honestly, I think I can speak to this. Matt, maybe you agree with me. That effect kind of goes away after a while when you like after you do this for, I guess, 29 episodes. You kind of start accepting like, oh yeah, these movies all came out this year, and I just didn't know that.
You accept it. It's not as stunning, but it's always still there. You're always
yeah,
like, oh yeah,
all right, that's when this came out.
Exactly. And now that we're like pre MCU, now I really have no idea on timeline of
Right?
films. And I don't know if that is just because like so many films I like registered in connection with when they came out compared to like what MCU film was out at the same time,
Mm.
or if it was just like that's when we started getting older and paid more attention to those sort of things too. And I feel like this time frame of my life, and not that I wasn't into film or anything like that. It was high
It was
school, man.
different though.
Like it was middle. There were so many
Yeah.
other things to focus on, right?
Well,
We
because
weren't
we
focusing on
were
like when movies came out.
we were
So
15 then, right? 2006
yeah,
was
2006. This is when 15
15, yeah.
exactly.
And
So like grade 9,
Prosser's
grade 9.
14 because he's a child compared to us.
Okay.
He's a whole year younger,
He's like,
Matt.
okay, well that must be nice, man. I'm envious. Not gonna lie, not gonna lie. But like this is the time where like at that age you're not really focused on the specifics of these things. So I just think that's kind of now that we're in that space. I think, and especially as we keep going back, more and more we're gonna be like, whoa, that came out this year or at this time. That's crazy because it doesn't
Yeah.
always feel like that. Our perception of time and when films come out and when they don't is so skewed. And I'm honestly realizing this every week we do a podcast on these years. I'm like, I clearly have no idea when films coming out. Like, don't ask
Yeah.
me
Well, like,
anymore because I have no idea.
well, and the weird thing too is again, it just feels like yesterday. Like when you think about like, oh yeah, this film, and it's like,
Exactly.
oh yeah, no, I just saw that. Yes, no, I haven't watched that in like 7 years. Oh my
So
gosh.
many films feel like modern, like they just came out, and then you're like, oh no, that's like a 20+ year old film. Okay,
Yeah.
Didn't
That's
Well,
see
it's
'cause
that
we're-
like
coming.
That's because we're 20+-year-old people, Matt.
yeah.
But yeah, like emphasis on the plus part, man.
Yeah.
I'm in that
That's
30
like
range now.
it's like
Yup.
last episode when you guys were talking about shoot 'em up, and I'm just like, is shoot 'em up that old? And then yeah, like 2007, I'm like, oh my god, I watched shoot 'em up over a decade ago,
Yeah,
and like,
exactly. Yeah.
and honestly, like, there's so many like action films that like I absolutely loved that I've completely forgotten. And I want to revisit solely because, like, I'll be looking up the year because you guys will do a podcast on it, and I'll look it up and I'm like, oh right, I haven't watched that in a while. I haven't watched that in a while. Oh my god, I haven't watched that in a while. So this has actually been like kind of cathartic for that sort of thing as well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I totally agree.
yep. No, there's one in particular actually that I'm going to discuss when we get to me that I definitely want to revisit at some point. So, but
Is it terrible?
it depends on your perspective.
Okay, you should know my perspective. Is it one that I'm gonna make fun of you because it's terrible?
I don't think so. Like,
Is it one I like?
yes, absolutely. You should like it anyway.
Oh, which one is it then?
We'll get to it. Don't you worry.
I don't have any action movies on my list. Like, what the heck was it?
Oh, you will like. I don't want to say it now. Like,
Yeah,
like,
you gotta
if-
save for the list, man. You gotta save for
Yeah.
the list.
So, can I want to ask a question out of curiosity, just because I want to get a feel for everyone's list. Because this is 3 people now. It's not just like the 2 of us. This is, I feel, and it's funny because one person feels like it's adding so much more to the conversation, and it's just bizarre to me.
It's just we've been doing it 2 people for like almost. We're coming up on a year pretty soon, actually.
In a couple months, yeah. I keep forgetting it's the end of April. I keep thinking it's like it's March, isn't it? It's like
Yeah,
no,
like,
dude,
we're
April's
in
almost
May,
over.
man. We're almost in May.
Yeah. So
Wow.
the Prestige. Where did the Prestige fall for everybody? Or was it even on your list, Matt, or no?
No, honestly, I must have like skipped over it.
oh man.
Not
Oh, cool, then
intentionally.
we're
I didn't
safe,
see
I
it
think.
though. I didn't see it on the list. So
Okay.
Well, then
I've also never seen the film, so I probably.
Oh my
Oh my
goodness!
God.
Then Matt, you are in for a treat because we will talk about that
Yeah.
when it is
There,
my
there
turn.
are a couple. There's one of the things that I was going to mention when we started talking about the list, but I'll mention it now because
Yeah.
it is kind of a 2006 thing just in general, and it goes back to that age thing. It's like I think I missed out on so many movies because like my age, I wasn't looking for the heavy dramas. I was looking for like those stupid, goofy, like comedy type things where you just went with your buddies and had a good time. Like, there's a couple on here that are like heavy dramas, but most of them I hadn't seen till I was like older and more interested in that.
Sears is gonna be a bunch of the goofy buddy movies, and then mine's gonna be no, I can't. Even, mine's not even pretentious film stuff. Like it really isn't.
Mine is.
And you
Ross.
you're really gonna get a taste for us as filmmakers, and
This
that's
is
the best
really
part.
gonna be just this is a really wide picture of 2006.
Like,
You guys are
see,
in for a
that's the thing.
treat.
Mine is a lot of like pretentious arty farty stuff, and then the one movie that's the opposite of all of that, and I can't wait for that contrast to come up. So yeah, I'm excited to get into it.
Awesome.
All right, Matt. Then I guess let's start with you. What do you got for us?
Cool, man. Films of 2006 that I really enjoyed, and let's go with kind of they're kind of just all over the place, I guess.
Did you have a
Nothing really
specific top?
specific. At the top, I had a hard time coming up with like a top one. I would probably say, you know what? Let me just go through them, and then I'll kind of like put a couple at the top for like comedy and like drama, because I think that's kind of like the two where my line really splits. Like I have some that are pretty heavy drama, some that are just like comedic. So let's start with that. Let's start with like the comedic ones. Grandma's Boy. Freaking loved Grandma's Boy, man. This actually is such a good film, like just in itself. Like it's really silly, it's really goofy,
Yeah.
but it's quite a well made film with like a good story, like solid acting, and like the jokes, man. Bam, bam, bam. Like they're hitting almost every single time. And you got old ladies in there with like dudes smoking pot and they're getting high. Like it's just such a fun, and video games. Like it was a fun time. I loved Grandma's Boy.
It's so weird for me because I remember that I didn't want to like it the first time that I saw it.
Yeah.
Like it was another one of those ones that everyone wouldn't stop talking about because I didn't see it till years later, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, it's so good, it's so good." I'm like, "No, can't be that good. All these other movies you guys talked about were terrible." And then I watched it, and it's a tad predictable, but it's a comedy in the 2000s, and it was fun. It was heartfelt. It was really good. Like it was like all this like. Everyone only talks about like the stoner jokes and like the stupid stuff in it, but like
But there
there's
was
a
more
layer of
to it.
character in there too.
Yeah. And that's
yeah.
what I appreciate a bit more. Like there is that depth of character. Like it is well thought out. It is well executed. It's not just pod jokes all that. I mean, it is a lot of pod jokes, but there's some heart and there's some charm behind it, which makes it a really enjoyable film at the end of the day. And I think I agree with you, Ethan. Like I think it's when my brother showed me, and he's like, "Oh, weed stuff," and you're like, "I don't know." Then you watch it and you're like, "Actually, no, this was pretty good, man." Yeah, I gotta hand it to him. It's a good film.
Okay, you got me with one good recommendation.
Yeah, like thanks a lot, man. Great recommendation. It was good. So that's a really good one, especially talk about comedy. So funny. You're gonna have a great time. Just enjoy it. And I mean, we missed 420 now. Honestly, when 420 was on, I forgot it even existed. I didn't even see anything.
That's
I guess
pretty
I
in
wasn't
line with
online much
420.
that day. But yeah.
But yeah, no, the one note I'll add about Grandma's Boy is you don't see a whole lot of plots that like where the main character is like developing a video game, and that's like the main thing they're trying to do throughout the story.
Yeah.
And I kind of appreciate that they went with something a little different for the main character's journey on that one.
Well, exactly. Like,
But
and it
it's-
matched like with like the whole pot smoker motif and like idea,
Yeah.
right? Like, because it's like they get high and play video games and have munchies and whatever, right? Then you throw the grandmas in there, and then like the actual, but like again, it was the heartfelt stuff that was underneath it. Like they could have just made a game. They could have just made a film where it was just about pot jokes, where it was just about the laughs.
of course.
And like we still would have been like, haha, funny. But they actually put the effort in to put those layers in and actually, make it a little bit fuller than just surface level. Basic jokes, They didn't
I
just
would
take
agree with
like
that.
the low hanging fruit. They actually reached and put some effort in and got some good stuff out of it.
Yeah.
So no, I appreciate that one. That was good. Next one on my list. That's kind of like, I guess it's technically like a horror movie, but it is pretty damn funny. Is Slither. One of James Gunn's older ones, right? This is one of the newer ones that I've watched. I didn't watch this one for a long time. I literally just watched this a couple months ago for the first time. And I think I maybe even mentioned it on another podcast. I don't remember.
I think so.
I think I
want
might
to say
have
we've
mentioned
talked
it.
about Slither.
I think I
How
might
can
have
you not
mentioned
talk
it.
about Slither?
Yeah, but anyway, really great. Like, just a fun little concept. Like it's not a super long film, but it's just really enjoyable. Like you got Nathan Fillion, Elizabeth Banks,
Michael
Michael
Rooker.
Rooker, man,
Michael freaking Rooker.
freaking Rooker. Okay, that guy's literally off. Like anything he's in, I love Michael Rooker. I love his style.
Yeah,
And not
he's
to mention like
fantastic.
Elizabeth Banks is really great. She's really talented. Like a lot of
Oh,
funny
yeah.
stuff. And obviously Nathan Fillion is freaking
We have to like
Nathan
him.
Fillion.
We
Right,
have
like-
to like Nathan Fillion. Like it's just
What are you gonna do?
as Canadians and like as two of us living in Alberta, like we have to.
Yeah.
It's actually
It's just
part of getting your license out here is you have to swear a pledge of allegiance to
you-
Nathan Fillion.
As a Halo fan, I have to like Nathan Fillion by contract.
I'm pretty sure Halo's like the least amount of things he's he's done.
Listen,
But like he's great. I mean, he's everywhere, and he has that. He just has that like charisma to him, right? Like, and just his voice too is like, damn, man, that's some smooth shit.
That surprisingly southern charm for a northerner.
yeah,
For a far northerner, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird, but it's like it's perfect, man. Like
It
he's
works
just such
so
a
good.
great actor, and like honestly, man, Slither is probably one of my favorite movies. Like it is.
Yeah,
The soundtrack is great and on point. The characters all great. Like you said, the concept is simple, but it works really well, and like it's funny.
and the monster effects are good, right? Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
alien
Good.
and stuff. Like it's so
Some of the
good.
CG didn't age well, but again, that's 2006.
Yeah.
Like,
but the a lot of the gags they do with the monster, even when it is CG, is why it works.
Yeah,
oh,
Like,
100%.
uh-huh.
Like just the fact of how it attacks people, like just like these little like tongue things crawling around, like launches into your mouth and stuff. Like it's just creepy. It's creepy and
so
comedic because of the
gross.
design. I really like. I mean, again, the because with a lot of these, like it's very much aping off of like a lot of like those 1980s like small town horror film type movies. Like specifically, I think of like the Blob remake, Invasion of the Body
Yeah.
Snatchers, stuff like that. But it, even though it is very much riffing off those things, it has enough of its own identity where you can enjoy it on its own without knowing that subgenre.
Yeah,
And
100%.
and that's
Like,
one of its strengths.
and James Gunn brings his own flavor to it completely, right? Which totally changes like that whole dynamic.
Well, when you look at Slither and then you look at Guardians of the Galaxy, you can see that. You can
Yeah.
see that in the choice of the music. You can see that in the choice of direction with the characters, the way people act, the way even it's shot. Like
He has a strong like individualized voice, which you don't always see very often. Like sometimes like there are filmmakers who are very I guess like flexible and do a lot of things where it's like, oh, I didn't know that guy actually made that film. Like that you said, I can't remember which director you said
David Fincher.
Yeah, you're just like, oh shit, apparently he made like all my favorite movies kind of thing. You didn't know.
Yeah.
But like there's guys like James Gunn, there's guys like Taika Waititi where you watch their films and it's a very specific voice. And it's not like there's any specific trait that carries over, but it's just all over how it's created, how it's made. And James Gunn is just one of those guys with a really strong identified voice. And I think we're going to see that obviously a lot in Suicide Squad. And of course, I'm sure Guardians 3 will just be the same kind of style going forward. And obviously, they tried to copy that a little bit too in the first Suicide Squad film, which
Well,
didn't
that's
really
what I
work
loved
out for
about
them.
it. It's like they were just literally trying to make Guardians the movie
Yeah.
for DC, and it just didn't work. And then they got the guy who made Guardians to come in and do it.
They're just
it
like, you
all-
know what, we'll just get him to come and do it. Yeah,
Hey James, why don't you just do it? All right. Like,
exactly.
Well, no, because they offered him anything. They're like, literally, whatever property you want to do, you got. And he's like, the Suicide Squad. I want to do that. I want to take that on. Can I do that one? And they're like, sure, yeah, okay, whatever you want to do.
He's like, that sounds right up my alley. And,
Can
and
I
to
have-
be fair, Suicide Squad wouldn't have got another film if he didn't take it on. Like, that's
Like
my own
if-
opinion on that.
and again, the whole like, oh, what characters can I use? And DC's like, any of them you want? Like, any of them? Well, I'm gonna pick the most obscure villains ever, and I'm just gonna
Exactly
throw
what he
them in
did,
there.
yeah. Like, I'm
Like-
like, who are half these guys? I have no idea.
Like,
No
I
idea.
knew,
I don't.
Yeah.
Like I know some of them by reputation, and that's it. But otherwise, it's like, okay, time for some deep diving for Ethan, I guess. Like,
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the fun part about these films too. You dig a little bit into new characters every once in a while that you're like, who the hell are these guys? And you gotta do
uh,
a little research. But yeah, no, Slither is great.
also, a quick special shout out to Slither too.
Yo,
When we were actually when we were doing the sound design and the music design for Damned Rights, I actually like when I was putting in kind of temp scores for like the music parts, like the songs, not the score.
uh-huh.
I actually lifted most of the tracks from the Slither soundtrack and used that in our temp tracks.
Oh, cool.
Like it
Just
was
to get the same kind of feel and idea for it.
yeah, we referenced like maybe not so much in the cinematography and stuff, but we did try to reference Slither a little bit in energy. I don't know if that translated well by the end of it, but like honestly, this film was a huge inspiration to just making our own film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think that's also why it's a pretty important one too for both of us because I want to say Slither actually is pretty high on both of our lists too.
Oh yeah, I love Slither. Well, like Slither is just like an absolute love letter to the kind of films I just enjoy. Like at one point they literally lift a bit of the soundtrack from Predator. Like the scene where they go into the cop station and they like get out like the big guns and everything. They
Oh,
reference
yeah.
the
And like
score
the deer
from
comes after
Predator.
him and shit.
Like, like, and I was like, that's from
Yeah.
Predator. It's like, but it's like, if you didn't know it was from Predator, it still works, but it's a fun little reference if you
If
know
you're paying,
that thing.
if you caught that, yeah.
Exactly. Like, and there's little things like that. Like the beginning of the movie straight up just does the opening of the thing with the asteroid falling to Earth and everything. Like, there's little stuff like that. Like, it's there for the people who love that genre and know it very well. But if this is your introduction to that genre, it works 100% on its own. Like,
Well,
it's
that's
just,
the best way to do referential films. Like
Yeah.
if you want to do film with references, it doesn't not everything needs to be done with a wink and a nod.
yeah,
It can be there for people to pick up on if it needs to, and there doesn't need to be like 10 YouTube videos on like the Easter eggs you missed in Slither. Like, no. That
number
doesn't need to
7
be
will
a
surprise
thing.
you.
It's just like let's just put references in and don't draw attention to like, hey guys, did you see the reference? Like it's a reference dealer. So it's a guy with a bunch of trench coat opens it up and it's like, want to buy some references?
Welcome.
Like that's what it feels like now. Nowadays in movies, it's like it's a, get flashed by a bunch of references as opposed to like
Amazing.
It
like
just happened to me. I couldn't do anything about it. It just
They
happened.
just kept
I
throwing
had to
references
sit there
at
while
me.
it just happened to me.
did the reference look anything like this? Like
Oh man, I'm like spin out drink here. Hilarious, man. That's interesting. I like that. I like that's very good. I'm glad Slither was like on all our lists pretty high up because it's like it
Just
is
a
a
great-
really
it's a
really
great
good
movie.
film. And I don't care who you are. I think you're gonna enjoy it. Like unless you really are against any
if
type
you don't like
of
if you don't like body horror, I'd say probably stay away from
gore
it.
type stuff, yeah. But like
But even-
mostly, it's just really enjoyable. Like the characters are great, the acting is great. It's got so much charisma and heart and charm. It's just so. It's a lot of
Yeah.
fun. It's just a
When
lot
the
of
gore
fun.
comes up, just close your eyes and think of Nathan Fillion, and all your troubles will go away.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. And ignore like the back half of the film probably. That'll
Yeah,
probably
it's
be
hard
your
to
favorite.
avoid
The
at
back
that
third
point.
for sure. The back third for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
Nathan Fillion.
just
Nathan
on
Fillion.
side of it, just for Michael Rooker, it reminded me. I just watched a movie this week called Love and Monsters. It just showed up on Netflix.
I want to see
It's
that.
a newer film, and it's not similar in the same way like that Slither is, but on the surface, it looks like kind of like one of those, like Monster Hunter, Resident Evil kind of idea
Yeah.
where it's like, oh, it's gonna be so much of the monsters or on Transformers, but it's really gonna be just a really shallow film.
Mhm.
And it kind of looks like that from the cover. That's what I thought. I was like, I'm gonna watch this. It's probably like a solid 4, 5, maybe. It's like a solid 7 or 8, man. Like it's actually got a lot of like it's like kind of what we talked about Grandma's Boy, where it has those cool elements on the top, but a lot of heart. There's a lot of charm. There's actually a lot of motion and character. So go
Yeah.
check it out. Love and Monsters. It's on Netflix right now. It just showed up, and it's got Michael Rooker in it too, just being Michael Rooker, which is
You
lots of
can't go
fun.
wrong.
Lots of fun. So go check it out. Next one on here, and we'll probably pick up the little pace a bit. The bench warmers. I thought that was a really funny one
It's on my
too.
list too.
Yeah,
That's another one that look. It's a shallow, stupid comedy, but it's got a really good message and really good heart behind
yeah,
it.
absolutely. And it was just like like the kids they bring in there. Like you got Rob Schneider in there. Like he was freaking awesome in there. And
John
always
Heater,
John Heder, yeah,
yeah,
Heater or Heder. Who was the other guy in there?
David Spade,
Oh yeah, David Spade was in that one too. Yeah.
and then I can never remember the guy who plays his brother who's afraid of the sun. But there's another.
That dude's in like everything though. I can never remember his name, but he like
Me
pops
neither.
up in all their like films and stuff. But yeah, no, that one was a good one. Bench warmers. That was that was
Oh, and
really
then John
fun.
Lovitz plays like
John Lovitz,
the rich nerd,
the rich billionaire nerd.
trillionaire.
It's very
Yeah. That was a good
But no,
one.
and that one it's a fun one, and that was part of my list of like really silly comedies that came out this year.
Yeah.
Because it's like a lot of them are in that same kind of vein where it's just like over the top, ridiculous, kind of feel good comedy.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, where they
Yep.
and they just there's just a little bit more heart to these films, than they initially seem. Like that's kind of the surprising thing about 2006, because most years when you're looking at these types of film, and I know that's been a really a theme over this entire podcast so far in talking about these films, is they might seem surface level, but they just got a lot of heart underneath them. Like it's just they just put it's like the directors and the creators, everyone just put a lot more effort into these films this year, it seems. Or at least there's a bunch of them together where they've done that, which usually isn't the case. Usually most guys always go for the low hanging fruit, and that's all you get, right? Kind of surface level. Next one. Sorry, go ahead.
If you see Rob Schneider and David Spade in a movie, you kind of expect it to not be that.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're kind of like, oh, okay, it's gonna
Yeah,
be one of
there's a-
those films.
You're like, I'm gonna get a Deuce Bigelow, aren't I?
Yep. There's a certain
he-
expectation that comes along with it.
But then he didn't play a character; he just played a guy,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh, okay, he's acting normal.
He's not just being crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good one. I really enjoyed Benchwarmers. Yeah, it was really great. And it's kind of like a baseball one too, so that's fun. Accepted is the next one on my list,
Accepted is great.
which is bloody brilliant, man.
Ask me about my wiener.
Like you got,
Well, that's
yeah,
a
like,
classic.
I was gonna say, I was gonna call him Seth Rogen. I was like, that's not right.
Jonah Hill.
Jonah. I was gonna call him Seth. Oh, he's Seth in Superbad, I think.
Oh,
That's...
he's a funny guy with an afro. They're all the same.
Yeah, it's like white chunky dudes with like brown fro type thing going on. Yeah, it's the same.
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
It's that thing.
Totally the same guy.
But yeah, like Jonah Hill's in that. Obviously, Justin Long is so good in that film.
Oh, he's great.
Like
Justin Long's great in everything he's in.
I don't know why he isn't in more stuff.
He's in a lot. Like he's one of those people you don't think he's in a lot, but then you actually look up his stuff and you're like, oh.
Like,
Okay,
is he
he's
still in a
acted-
lot like recently? Because I
Like,
feel like I haven't
the-
seen him for a long time.
Like the last big thing I remember him being in was Tusk, but I'm sure he's been in stuff since then.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's been the voice of Alvin in Alvin and the Chipmunks for a while.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
Man,
Hard to tell
But,
because
like-
of what he does to his voice.
He's Jane Silent Bob, the reboot. Drunk History. He's been acting consistently in things, but it looks like it's been a lot more TV and indie stuff.
Yeah, sounds about right. Because it's like I just haven't seen him, and I have no idea why. Because he really is just a talented actor.
Well, he
And
was the guy for a while there.
He was in quite a bit of stuff.
100%.
I think he's honestly just acting and enjoying his life now. Like, just doing whatever he wants to do.
Instead of like the bigger ones.
No, exactly. and that's...
Because
Soaking
yeah,
up
man,
those-
I gotta find some more movies of his. Because I'm just like looking back on these lists and the last couple years, as soon as we keep going too, we're gonna see more and more of him popping up again. As we go through the years, but Accepted was one of my favorites. Like And it's such a relatable thing, right? Like he's just trying to find his place in the world. He's trying to find where he belongs, and it happens to be so is everyone else. So the guy creates a fake college. Like he gets his buddy to create a fake college, and they're running it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's working great. Of course, they get found out, but then it's just it's got a lot of heart. Like it's all about people caring about other people and making them giving them a place to belong. Like these lost souls, they have somewhere where they can be family, where they can be together. Like it's just, man, it's got so much of just like good shit.
Well,
And
it all started as a joke, right?
no, it started out as just like he was just trying to fool his parents to think he got into college, right?
Is
Like
that like South Harmon Institute of Technology?
yeah,
Or something
exactly.
like
Like he wasn't like because there's a Harmon Institute of Technology or whatever. Now he's going to the South Harmon, which is the fake
Mm-hmm.
college they made up. Because he just didn't want to tell his parents that he didn't get accepted anywhere. But then
Yep.
they made and then they made the website too legit, and it accepted like like tons and tons of people, and they like uh, renovated a
Mental institution.
they renovated a mental institution.
That's
Like
an
it's
appropriate
just
stumble.
I know, right? Like it's just so freaking good. And it's just so freaking good because we're always looking for a place to belong. And that's what that whole
Mm-hmm.
thing was about, being accepted for who you are. And when you're watching that damn film, I know you guys felt it because I felt it. I wish I could go to a school like that. That looked freaking awesome. Not
As
gonna
someone
lie.
who went to as someone who went to art school, yes, I wish I could go to a school like that.
Come
I feel that.
man.
Because that's what art school should kind of be, is that you get to go and make your art.
And like yes,
But
like
instead, no,
and the
it's
freedom and the creativity, like it was also just such a look at our educational system, mainly in the States, right? But ours isn't too much different when you're looking at university and colleges and stuff. It's like the same idea, and it just took a hard look and asking, is this really the way we're educating our future? And
yeah.
it tackled those things head on. So it was really smart, really funny, really charming, great message, and damn, you wish that place actually existed and you could go there because I would be signing up. I would be signing up right now. So that was a good one. That was a good one. Let's see here. Bam, bam, bam. I think that's it. Kind of from like my funnier ones.
Yep.
Family one is like Cars. That came out that year. That was the first Cars was
Cars
really,
is
really
such a
solid.
good movie.
Yo,
And like no one talks about it.
I've never seen it.
it's underrated.
You've never seen
You need
Cars?
to watch the first one, man.
You've lived with me for 10 years and you've never seen Cars?
That is an appropriate reaction.
Apparently,
How?
I'm sorry.
You should be.
it just
How?
Wow.
It just never. It just.
I've watched Cars several times in the last 10 years.
It just never came up. I'm sorry.
Jesus.
I don't know what to tell you.
I've talked about Cars to you in depth.
It's so nice that after 10 years,
And-
you guys can still find new things about your relationship. It's just amazing. Discover new
He's
things about each
reacted
other.
like he's seen the movie before. He does this to me all the time. Psycho, Superman. Oh gosh, there's so many more. How have you never seen Cars?
Turned into Jerry Seinfeld there for a minute. How have you not seen Cars? I mean, really?
Oh, man.
What's the deal with you not
shit.
seeing Cars? It's a cinematic masterpiece.
I mean, come on. It's 7 out of 10 at least. You got the 7 out of 10. Come on.
No, it's a 9 out of 10. You got the 9, you got the 10. It's 9 out of 10.
Very nice, very nice, very nice.
Thank you.
Anyways,
Very nice. No,
No, Cars is super good and super underrated, right? Like,
Yeah. And I think
We
mainly
don't
it
talk about
comes
the
from like a
sequels,
lot
though.
of like their sequels. Like I saw the second one and I thought it wasn't nowhere near as good. And I never saw the third one.
I never seen any of the sequels. I
But,
just saw
the original is money, man.
Oh yeah, and it's
money.
got a great arc. You don't need sequels to it.
No, it's the perfect arc. Like his character arc, like Lightning McQueen's character arc from beginning to end is like perfect. From like
And fun fact, I think I mentioned before we started recording. Fun fact: Daniel Bruhl, Baron Zemo, voices Lightning McQueen in German. So if you want to watch it in German, you can listen to Baron Zemo voicing Lightning McQueen.
There you go. Yeah, if you don't want to listen to Owen Wilson, you can go with Baron Zemo, which kind of sounds like a
Wow.
no-brainer anyway, almost. But like,
Almost sounds
unless
better.
you know, unless you don't want to watch
Unless
the
you-
thing in German, so that's kind of
If you've seen it enough times,
That's the hitch.
you know the story,
that's
right?
the
You know
hitch, yeah. But I mean, I don't think there's much to say about that. Like, it's just amazing. It's another classic
just so
Pixar
good.
film. This is one of those ones that's great for the whole family, but just the quality bar so high, and the message so good. Come on, Prosser, man. Come on.
Get on board.
You gotta watch
Well,
it, dude. You gotta watch
well,
it.
I'll-
You'll love it. You'll love it.
Hop on in. Let's go for a ride. Come on, vroom vroom, cars. Let's go.
Prosser's
I'll
in.
get-
He's in.
I guess I'll give it a go. I haven't been fully convinced, but apparently I should watch Cars.
Dude, watch it.
Yeah, all right.
Super.
I'll give it a
super
go.
good. Okay, I'm gonna go.
right.
I'm gonna roll through these real quick so we can get to your guys's before we all have a 3-hour freaking podcast. But like those were all films that we really just need to take a second and talk about because they're
Oh yeah,
they're
100%.
quality, and
they're-
I think they're also on your guys' list as well. Some of them. So
yeah.
Good chunk so far.
let's keep rolling through some of these here quick, and then if there's some connections on your guys's, we'll also talk about them on your guys's a little bit more. Last one in the comedy section, not rated quite as high, Talladega Nights. I know Ethan is not into that one. That's a Will Ferrell one, John C. Reilly. One of my favorite Will Ferrell ones. It's a lot of fun. Those two, when they get together, it's like magic, man.
You're very alone here today.
Yeah, I can see by
Yeah,
the
I'm sorry.
facial reactions. I'm like, Talladega Nights. They're like, no, that's not for us. And that's exactly
We're like, we have taste, Matt.
wow.
Oh my God.
Wow. Wow. Every movie, they're like, no, that's amazing. Talladega Nights are like, oh, Matt, we have taste.
Oh,
We know
Matthew,
good cinema.
well.
Have you even watched a film?
Shut up, you guys.
I don't think you've even watched a film before.
I don't know what I'm doing with my hands. You can just put them down.
Talladega Nights.
It's a funny film. Like, it was great. It is that's for sure one of my favorites from like when I was 15. I was like, freaking love Talladega Nights.
Right.
But it also feels like it came out. I feel like it was in the wrong slot. This is one of those ones that feels like it's in a wrong slot for me. I might have to do more research on it, but I feel like it came out before I was 15. Like, it feels like maybe like like somewhere between 12 to like 13, 14 years. So that's why I say I have no idea when things came out, clearly. I have no perception of that time. It just seems weird. And I feel like I saw it in... Anyway, a theater that's gone. But anyway, I can't remember the timeline. But no,
A theater near you?
it was, but then it got
Not anymore.
shut down. It had like the double layers too. The Odeon, I think it was called.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, downtown. Yeah, before the Galaxy, the pink
Yeah,
one.
before the Galaxy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, across
The
from like
better
TCU.
theater.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, man, no, I know
Sick.
exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, it was.
I miss that building so much. When they tore it down, I was actually like legit sad.
So I was so sad. It had like the double
Architecturally, it
balcony
was
things,
so
man. It
cool.
was such a cool theater.
I know. And then Galaxy and their paid parking. Why?
Yeah, that's why I just go to Landmark because I'm like, hell no, I'm paying enough going to see the movies there. I'm not paying for parking. Get out of here.
Matt, that's why I moved provinces. I specifically to go to movie theaters that
You're
didn't pay
just
parking.
like-
I moved
You're like,
provinces.
oh, I gotta pay for parking. No, that's it. I gotta move provinces.
Wasn't even
I'm
film
done.
school. That was
I'm
just an
done.
excuse.
Done.
That's it.
I should not have to pay to go see a movie. I should pay for the movie, but not for parking.
Going for parking. Whoa, man! Like I went to go see. I can't remember if it was Endgame or Infinity War there at the Galaxy, and it's like by the time you pay for parking, by the time you pay for like food, by the time you pay for your movie, it was like, holy man, I paid so much money for this. And then you're like, it's not even worth it. It's not even worth it because it's like the movie's great, but it's like I could have just watched it across the town, and not in like IMAX or whatever, because I think I went to go see the IMAX version, not IMAX, and it would have still been great. So
Yep.
I was
And then they
pretty pissed off about that.
got rid of that great 3-hour parking, so you can only get 2 hours or 4 hours. And
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly. They're like,
That's too much time or not,
not
enough.
enough.
Like,
Like, what are you
Yeah.
gonna do, man? Like, it's
Like,
just-
2 hours is definitely not enough for most movies. By the time you like factor in getting your snacks and stuff, like that,
Greasy,
And
greasy
4
as
is way too
hell.
much.
Yeah,
like
And
you
they had the 3 hour. They had the 3 hour parking
yeah.
for a couple years, and they're like, nah, 2 or 4.
like three is a nice like in between point. Like, but obviously it's like they were probably if they still had that just 2 hours, they'd be raking in the cash for Avengers Endgame. Let me tell you.
Well, dude, breaking the cash for anything, because even if a movie is 2 hours long, you got to get there well before the time,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
right? Which puts you at like a nice solid like 2.5 to 3 hours maybe. So like the fact that
Yeah.
that's not even
Yep.
an option, it's like,
No, exactly.
dude, it was like when I had to go to work back, like when I was working at this place called like J and H, not J&H, it was Greg's. And I had to go from the east side of the city to the north side, and there was like a very tiny window where you could get through before all the traffic showed up. But if the traffic showed up, it
Yeah.
jammed the whole highway, and you could either literally be 20 minutes early for work or 10 minutes late. It was your choice. There was no freaking in between, and you had a
Yep.
5-minute window to decide what you wanted to be. A
Welcome to
5-minute
Saskatoon.
window. It was like, good lord, and that's what this parking is. It's like you can either have not enough and risk getting a ticket, or you can have too much and
way
not
too much.
spend like that whole extra hour and a half, 2 hours at the end. It's
Mhm.
your call, buddy. Your call. It's like, well, you guys suck.
Yep.
Yep.
Suck. Anyway, that was Talladega Nights. Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. I actually liked that one. Not a lot of people did. I thought it was kind of fun.
I've seen half of it.
It's not a bad film.
No, it was
And
fun.
the
I,
end,
just, I
like,
don't know why I never finished
and
it.
it's
but-
very it's much more Fast and Furious from the obviously like the earlier two films than it is what Fast and the Furious is nowadays, which is
Oh,
like,
yeah.
utterly insane. You're like, I don't even know, none of this works. It's not physics, it's Fast and the
Like,
Furious. You
But
know?
logically, they are getting faster and more furious. So, like,
It's
the
true.
name is not lying.
The name is not
Um,
lying.
Yeah, I actually think it was the Fast and the Furious, right?
No, that's the fourth
That's the
one.
fourth one. I'm
Oh,
talking about like
okay.
the third one, which was like kind of like the
Oh,
offshoot.
Tokyo Drift. Yeah.
And then
yeah.
they went
Yeah,
to
the
like
spin-off.
4, 5, 6,
Okay.
and then they caught up to it like
Yeah,
way later.
That's the weirdest thing. Again, we could have a whole podcast talking about the continuity of the Fast and Furious
Oh my God.
films
Well,
and
then
how
they-
it makes no sense.
So like
But
at the end of the third one at Tokyo Drift, like Vin Diesel shows up to like race the main character at the end. Like you never see the race. It's just like, oh shit, Vin
And-
Diesel. And then
and little do you realize that takes place in 2015.
yeah, that's exactly it. Like it takes place so far in the future. And then when they had to like film the new scenes of them actually talking, they brought the guy back and he was like just considerably older. You could
Yes,
just tell,
like,
he wasn't a string
even
That
bean
race did
anymore.
not treat you well.
Like,
Yeah,
bro,
some-
what happened to that race, man? Did you drive through like 8 McDonald's? Like, what happened?
Oh, he raced through time.
Like, yeah, I'm not like, you know, like, and not
Yeah,
that
he
he was
did
like
not-
fat, but like as you get older, you just get thicker sometimes, right? Like he was just consider,
Mm-hmm.
you could tell it's like, oh, bro, you ain't that little string bean dude anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
it
also
was funny.
predict Fast 10 is going to involve time travel.
Time travel, dinosaurs, space.
That's the only way that they can go now is time travel.
Like they got so much stuff going. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy.
It'll be called The Last and the Furious.
The Last and the Furious. Anyway, Tokyo Drift is actually quite a good film. I enjoyed it, and it's split away from like the main cast, which is probably like it's more of like an offshoot kind of thing, but slightly comes back around. But you know, it was a really fun film, and at the end of the day, like the final race down the mountain was really slick. Really,
I don't know. I
slick.
only saw the first half
Like
of the movie.
you have to get to the end, man. Like it's like damn, it's some good racing. It's some good racing. They did some good stuff in that film. Pirates of the Caribbean
Yeah.
2 is so this is obviously a bit more my not drama, just somewhere in the middle kind of thing. But Pirates of
Yep.
the Caribbean 2 I thought was always pretty good. Like anytime you get Johnny Depp in there doing his thing. And this is what I really liked about Pirates 1, 2, and 3 compared to 4 and 5. Watching the back to back, you really notice it. Where Pirates 1, 2, and 3, it's like all these different characters, different motivations. It's going back and forth, and everyone's betraying each other because they're all trying to get this different things or the same things. Like they're all in it
They're
for
all
themselves,
pirates.
right? Yeah, exactly. And you never know who to trust. You never know what's happening, and it's like always like the one with the like the best wit is gonna make it through kind of thing. Like it was in that fight over the key. just kind of like was perfect in how
Oh
that
yeah.
all that whole trilogy works. Like he's got a key, then he comes out of nowhere, grabs this key, and then he's coming here, and they're on a wheel, and they're fighting on top while the one guy's running in the middle.
Mhm.
Like that's how that feels, right? Like that whole how the writing works and how the characters work and how they're constantly
Yeah.
interacting. But when you get to 4 and 5, it's like it's a very clear path. Everyone has their own thing, and rarely do they actually like intercept in any like interesting ways. Like that's what I really found the biggest difference when it came to 4 and 5. It's like the writing totally changed.
Well, 4 is a
Yeah.
standalone.
Yeah, like there are things about the fourth one that I actually do really like, mostly Ian McShane as Blackbeard, but like when you compare the writing of that one, I have not seen the fifth one yet. But like when you compare the writing of that one to that original, like that first trilogy, there is a noticeable difference as far as the quality of how the characters are
There
written.
is, and
I
you
think-
really notice it when you're watching it back to back, and that's what I did. Like,
Mhm.
because I'd watched the fourth one quite a while after I'd seen the original trilogy, and thought, yeah, 4 is pretty damn good. Like this is why I signed up for some Jack Sparrow was good. Then you go back and watch the trilogy, and then go right into 4 and right into 5, and you're like, damn, there's a big quality dip here. Like you can literally feel it.
I kind of want to go back and watch the first one and then the fourth one, because a part of me is wondering if it is that trilogy that kind of maybe adds that disconnect.
It's not so much
Because
like
the first one,
it's not so much the disconnect of like the characters or anything like that specifically, but it's like how they interact, like how they all interact with each other. It's like that feeling of upsmanship that's not there.
Mm.
And like it is
Okay.
there like a little bit, but like in that that first trilogy, like even in the first film, the second film, third, like it's just constantly one upping. Like you're trying to keep up as the audience, like who's doing what, what's their
Yeah.
motivations, like whose side is everyone really on. When
Yeah.
where the fourth one and the fifth one is a bit more like everyone's kind of more on a straightforward path.
I do remember being like you and feeling the exact same way, where I liked quite a bit. I did like the fourth one.
And there's still
was
things
on
to
board
like
for
about
it.
4 and 5, but you definitely feel the character interaction is probably how you'd put it, like the big shift there.
Yep. One just a final note on that. I recently watched a video, and this is a scene like I already liked, but like there's a video someone did analyzing the liar's dice scene,
Yeah.
which like to me is like a really good scene to begin with, but then like there's an analysis of like the game rules and how it relates to each of the characters involved in the game. And after watching it, I'm just like, oh, there's a lot of really good like little character things in that scene. But again, apparently there was an extended version of it that got cut down that kind of like explained more of how the game works, which would kind of tie in more with how the characters play it. But I would actually recommend like looking up the like there I can't remember who did the video on it, but like someone did a video explaining kind of going more in depth in that scene, and I
Right.
appreciate way more after watching.
Well, now I demand the 3-hour cut of Pirates of the Caribbean with that dice scene.
Right?
I
Give
want
me the
that.
dice cut.
Yeah, the dice
Release
game
the
cut.
dice cut.
You should just
Quick,
start
guys,
a thing about
hashtag
that,
it.
and people are like, what, man? For like a 3-year-old or two, like
Well,
Pirates
if
2
we're
or
getting-
3, you're like, I want the dice
We're
cut.
gonna
man.
start getting the end game cut. I'm
You're done.
Come on,
I'm
guys.
just done with
You'll
cuts, man.
you'll be in the end game at that point.
We are in the end game, so that was a good one. Now talk about like more serious dramas that came out this year. The Departed came out that year, which
Yes.
is like
Never seen it. It's
Right?
on my list, dude. I own it. I own the steelbook of it. And I just haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, Matt, this is gonna be the Cars thing with him now because The Departed is
oh
fantastic.
my
I
god,
have
man!
asked
And
him-
like, listen.
I have asked him
I'm
to
not gonna
watch
give
it.
you a super hard time about it because I only watched it like a handful of years ago.
Yeah,
Freaking watch that movie, man!
I have asked
It's
him
good.
to watch it several times, and he keeps being like, "I'm just not in the mood."
in my
Not in
defense,
the mood.
it is a long movie.
It,
so
like, it is
at least I
it's a
asked
long
him to
movie,
watch
and
this
the ending
movie.
is very like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like right, like okay, so I'm not gonna spoil anything for you, but like you got, of course, you got freaking Matt Damon, Leo DiCaprio, Jack Nicholson, like just really,
Yeah.
really solid performance, and it's
Isn't Mark
again,
Wahlberg in it too?
it's got that,
Yeah,
it's got that feeling
it's got
almost
Mark
of like
Wahlberg.
that one-upmanship, right? Like especially when you get to the end, and it's just good. It's so good.
Yeah.
And The Departed is actually a remake of like Infernal Affairs, I think it was
Yes,
called.
which is
It's like is it Chinese or Japanese or something like that?
I want to say Japanese for Infernal
I'll
Affairs.
have
That
to
one I have not seen, but I want to track it down
I'll have to
at
look
some
into
point.
it. I think it's on I think it is one of the streaming services. I feel like I also just saw that on there not too long ago.
Yeah,
But like
but no,
The
like
Departed is the American version of that.
Yeah.
Hong Kong action thriller.
Hong Kong, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
There we
so
go.
it would be China then.
No, it's Hong Kong.
Oh, Hong Kong. Right. Sorry.
Hong Kong is different,
Very different.
I think. I don't know. I don't know the specific politics of that. But no.
Yeah, I
Dude,
know.
just watch The Departed, man. Freaking everybody listening right now, just drop what you're doing. Go watch The Departed. It's so good.
Okay.
It's so good. Okay, see Ethan. Have a good one. Ethan's out of the podcast. It's just me and Prosser. He went to go watch
Oh
The
my
Departed.
god.
Oh, that's gonna be a very awkward podcast for you two. What do we talk about?
We forgot what we were doing. Casino Royale, one of my favorite 007 films
Yes.
with Daniel Craig. Ethan's making a face. Get out of here, Ethan.
Yeah.
Get out of there, man.
I really like Casino Royale. I think I appreciated it more, like, because again, like, for the longest time, I'm just like, oh, they took the fun out of Bond. Oh, they made it more serious. They tried to turn it into Bourne Identity, and like, they really didn't.
No.
Basically, what Casino Royale is the Batman Begins of James Bond, because you see all the little things, like, it's kind of the beginning of him turning into like that guy that you see in like the Sean Connery and Roger Moore films, where all the things that kind of like broke him and turned him into like this cynical one-liner alcoholic guy. And I really like that. Like, it's a really, like, and it's just a solid action flick. Like, there's so many good action sequences in that film.
But they also really take the time to let the drama just sink in, right? Like
Yeah.
like the whole poker game is all about like tension and like the whole
Mhm.
drama of it. Like nothing overly exciting happens during the poker portion, you know?
No, it's
Like
just
he gets poisoned once, but like most of it is just really the characters and like the tension they create there.
yep.
Yeah.
On like his relationship with I can't remember the character's name right now, but Eva Green's character,
Oh right.
and how like
the
yeah,
hell's her name?
and like
I don't know.
God, I'm trying to remember. I'm going to have to Google this. Like, she's also fantastic in the movie
Oh,
as well.
guys,
Like,
it's such a good movie, but I can't remember the characters' names.
oh, would you
Ooh.
calm down?
Dude, it's been a long time. Hey, like
No, it's a good
that,
one.
that
though.
dude rocking
Comparatively-
parkour at the beginning too in the construction like zone was pretty sick. That was
Oh, yeah.
that was great.
Oh, and
Well, like,
you can't not talk about the opening where like it goes black and white and like how he gets his 00 status and then immediately
yeah.
and then immediately cuts into the classic like intro for Bond. Like,
Mads Mikkelsen was great.
oh
The
yeah, as
song
the
was
chief.
awesome.
Yeah.
You Know My Name, Chris Cornell. Come on,
Oh, yeah.
man.
Yep.
It was rock.
that's on my
Vesper.
work playlist, actually.
It was
Vesper
rocking.
was her name. But like the thing I love about Vesper is
That it's
Her-
Eva Green.
well, besides the fact that it's Eva Green, but like her relationship with Bond kind of is the beginning of him being the womanizing guy that you see in the other movies, because he gets burnt by that experience and becomes jaded towards women. Like, it adds on to that aspect of the character as the, oh, that's why he's kind of a bastard sometimes. Like,
most of the time.
Most of the time.
90% of the
until
time.
until Roger. No, I'd say until Roger Moore took over.
yeah.
yeah.
Because then he went from being like I'm gonna like make love to you, but also like beat you, to like I'm just gonna love you.
Yeah, Sean Connery's was pretty rough, man. It's like,
Oh my
really
God.
You
rough.
go back and watch that shit, you're like, oh damn, that seems.
Yeah,
He slaps the girl's hand like for no
yeah, you
reason.
just like,
And it
hold,
sounds
calm
like
down, son. Like,
and it sounds like
smokes.
Whiplash, just whoopsh, like, just like
Oh
Yeah.
damn.
But like but no, like I like Casino Royale well enough. It's not my favorite by any means, but like for Craig's series, it is up there.
Like yeah, like
100%.
for overall Bond ones, it's not like my top, but it is good. Like it is really high up. Like it's easy my number 2 or 3. Like Skyfall, I think is probably like I loved Skyfall. Hated
mean-
Quantum. Quantum didn't do it for me.
I
man.
mean,
Just
we don't have to talk about Quantum. It's fine.
didn't dig it,
Um,
and I'm still waiting for the 5th one of his to come out, and I just gotta see if
Mm-hmm.
that's any good. Because if it follows my pattern of enjoying the odd films of his, It should
Yeah.
be rocking, man. It should be
Yeah.
rocking.
No, I'm looking forward to that one. I hope it's good.
Fun little side note. There's like one scene where like Felix, when he's playing poker and he folds and he's like, I think so. He's like, I get the feeling that I don't know something that everybody else knows, or somebody knows something I don't. It's some line like that or whatever. And I remember, do you remember this, Ethan? We like got together and did that poker night at Ben's house. It was like basement. It was
Yeah.
like a poker tournament. And I remember
Yeah,
sitting
yeah.
there and I was like flicking my chips, kind of like he does, like rolling them a little back and forth. And it's just like clear. Everyone's like putting their money down, and I'm like, okay, I got shit. I'm like, I'm gonna get out of this smoothly. And I'm just like, looks like somebody knows something I don't. And I like put my card down, and Paige is like, that's from James Bond. I'm like, God damn it, I'm just trying to be cool here, man. What the hell? Just call me out. Brother Ricky's like, nice
You've
try.
been caught in a lie.
Nice try. It's from James Bond. I'm like, God damn it.
I'm just trying to be cool.
I'm just trying to be cool. You call me out, man. I'm like the black guy. Just
Not
put
that
down
you
like the
weren't,
black guy
like-
in the show.
Matt, like you weren't the coolest guy of our friend group the entire time.
No, I would probably say like Mason. Mason was pretty cool. He was.
No,
We did
Mason-
consider ourselves white and black counterparts, though. So maybe we were like equally
maybe.
good times. I don't know.
Was Mason cool or just really good at tricking us into thinking he was cool?
I don't know.
We all know Ben was the coolest.
Yeah, clearly. Ben had all the cool genes. We're just jealous.
Everyone loved Ben. Yeah. Actually, I realized that years later after the reunion, I was thinking about it. I'm like, oh, I just wanted to be Ben. Like,
The
that's
whole
what I wanted. My whole aesthetic, my personality. I just wanted to be him because, like, the dude had it together. Okay, cool.
He did, man. He did. He did like
That's-
so much. Yeah. Good old Ben.
And that's why he was my best friend.
Good old Ben.
And then I moved out here and downgraded.
Poor Prosser. He's just like Jesus Christ.
Oh, we'll see how much of you is going to be in this podcast, Ethan.
Just edit it. Just leave Ethan's audio out completely. There's just
Oh, what do you
blanks in
think
our
about this,
conversation.
Ethan?
We're just
Blank.
nothing's
Oh, and
happening.
moving on.
Oh, not much, I guess.
Oh, what were your favorite films of this year, Ethan?
shit,
I don't
so
have
funny.
any. Okay, moving on.
So funny. But literally moving on, next movie, Blood Diamond is on there. That was a really good one. Have you seen that? Okay, Prosser has Ethan again.
I've seen it, yeah.
Come on, man.
Good movie.
Leo DiCaprio.
I saw that one in school, actually.
Was it John Mon? Is it John Monhansu or is?
I have no idea
I
how to
think
pronounce his
so.
name, but he's an amazing actor.
Yeah, he's
I
fantastic.
can't remember what his name is.
Allow me.
I just don't know how to pronounce it, and I'm always afraid of like mispronouncing it. But like, man, like he is so good in everything he's
Yeah.
in. I've never seen him deliver a bad performance in the slightest.
And he's like, well, he's the guy from Guardians. If you haven't, if you've seen Guardians,
Who?
who? Like they call me Star
Star-Lord,
Lord.
man.
Who? It's that guy, and he's so
You know,
good.
Star-Lord,
And I think it's
come on.
John Monhansu.
Yep.
Okay.
I believe that's how you pronounce it. But yeah, he's also in Gladiator, which is fantastic.
yeah.
Like
He's Maximus'
yeah,
buddy.
he's really good.
Moving on, let's keep moving here. Blood Diamond's really good too. Like it's got some great like uses of tension and performances. Obviously, when you got like Leo and Jean in there, obviously we're talking like top levels performances. The Pursuit of Happiness, probably one of my favorite Will Smith's films. Like makes
This one
me
actually
tear up
happens.
every damn time. God damn it, Ethan! These last movies, you need to get your ass in and watch the damn
watch
movies,
good
son.
films. I watch good movies.
No, these are
my
really, really
God.
good films that you have to watch.
You know, Matt, I said I watch good movies. I don't watch great movies. I watch good
You're
movies.
just like, I watch
I
middle
always stay in that
movies.
middle
Like,
ground.
anything higher
I
than
am the
good,
most
I'm not interested,
average
man.
white bread.
Solid,
like-
solid 5, 6, maybe 7. I'm in.
Salt and pepper
Ethan.
is spicy to me. Mayonnaise is spicy. That's the kind of guy I am. I'm very.
Mayonnaise is spicy.
Ethan.
Jesus.
Ethan is the king of middle of the road.
Exactly. I am the most average man in the world. I don't always drink beer.
Oh man,
That's it. That's it.
No, like Pursuit of Happiness it's so good. Just this dad trying to look after his boy and trying to like gets his job opportunity, but he's got to do like kind of like an internship thing, kind of like audition almost for the job. But like they're not getting paid, so he still has like
Yeah.
no damn money, man. They're sleeping in subway station bathrooms and shit like that. Like it's such like a heartbreaking, emotional film. Once you get to the end, it's like waterworks, man, waterworks. This in like 7 pounds.
Does he catch?
And we talked about
happiness?
7 pounds, I think, a podcast or two ago.
Yes.
And it's like these two Will Smith films was like for me the first time I was like, oh damn, this brother can act. Cause damn, like you just feeling it, man, feeling it.
See, that was I think Men in Black 2 for me.
Men in Black 2.
He's really good. I mean, he's good in Men. Well,
Oh, he's
wait,
not bad, but I
two?
mean, like the character doesn't require him to dig overly deep.
He cries at the end of Men in Black 2.
He cries. It's like a lot of actors cry. That's why I'm not an
Yeah, but-
actor because I can't. I'm like I gotta figure out how to make myself cry. I don't know.
When it's believable crying, that's the real.
And that man, that's what I'm talking about. Like, dude,
He's
Like, again, to
pursuit
me,
of
like,
happiness, man.
yeah, I feel like his performance in 3 is better, but again, like he's not
dude, the
added to by
story in
any
3
means.
was better. 3
Yes.
is way better than 2. I'm just
Yes.
saying.
Like,
I'm saying the first time I saw him like act.
yeah, okay, fair
And
enough.
one is the best. I think
Actually-
we can agree of all the Men in Blacks. One is the best, right?
I don't know. 3. I
Well, of
really
course.
like 3.
Oh, really?
I
There's a lot of
really,
stuff
really
in
like
3
3.
I like. I mean, Tommy Lee Jones as Josh Brolin as young Tommy Lee Jones is absolutely perfect.
It was
And that
mine.
ending,
Like he
The-
is so
the-
good in that.
the ending with Jay's dad,
Yeah.
like heartbreaking, man.
Mhm.
It didn't really do much for me. I don't know, man. It did not hit me the same. Like it just did. I love one. One is easily.
I
my
mean,
favorite.
one is just
One
like
is a classic though.
yes, one is a fantastic film, but like I think 3 comes close in a lot of ways. But
Well, everyone
yeah, one is
agrees two
definitely-
is the worst one, right?
yes,
Okay, good.
But even when we say it's the worst one, it's still not bad. It's,
yeah,
just
it's
not
still-
it was
great.
still fun. Yeah.
it's still fun Men in Black action.
Hey,
at the
look,
end of
it's a
the day.
chin chin.
Okay, the Men in Black 2
It's
game
a
though was
chin-chin-ian.
horrible. Horrible. You know what? Men in Black 2 game, I remember playing that back as like PlayStation 1 or something like that, maybe. Maybe PlayStation 2. Pretty sure it was like a PlayStation 1. And we
Let's be
literally
honest,
had to
most
put
PlayStation 1 games were
we were
terrible.
on like easy to normal, like me and my uncle, and we had to put the invincibility cheat in because we were just getting instantly slaughtered. And as you play through the
'Cause it
game,
was just
you're like,
horribly
how
imbalanced.
is anyone supposed to survive this? Like it was ridiculous. Like the game was like
Men in Black the game.
Men in Black
created
the
by
game. You were never made to get past the first level. Enjoy. It was
by the
what
creators
hell,
of
man?
Bloodborne.
Like,
From the it's a early From Software game. It's
like exactly. It was
before
literally-
Dark Souls
it
and
was
Demon Souls was Men in Black the game.
literally the Dark Souls of like video game tie-ins from like the early 2000s.
Amazing.
Oh my god.
That's like the opposite of the Van Helsing game,
Oh,
which like
shit.
I was an early adopter of PS2 speedrunning because I was able to beat the Van Helsing video game on PS2 on hard mode in under 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, on easy, it's like an hour 20. Like, somehow the video game is shorter than the movie, and I don't know how they accomplished that. Like, but I got so good at the game that I was able to crank it out in like almost a half hour.
Oh damn.
Like,
Do you
For-
own that game?
it's somewhere. I don't know where at
I
this
never
point.
played it, so I'm curious now.
It's not a terrible game. It's just horrifically short. Like, I kind of wish it was longer. I mean, like, it's a Devil May Cry ripoff. It is what it is. But, like, I didn't hate it, you know?
Yeah.
Especially I'd probably go back and play it now. I'm like, oh my god, this is terrible. But, like, at the time, it was fun.
That time wasn't terrible. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much my list. I did like just a couple want to touch on that like aren't like, top my list, but it's like those were pretty like good or terrible. Rocky Balboa I actually enjoyed. Wasn't a great film, but like it was a Rocky film that was pretty solid and coming
Boy,
back
are
to meeting up with the character afterwards.
Boy, are you going to be excited when I get to my list.
Snakes on a Plane, which was just like ridiculousness,
Never
right?
seen Snakes on a Plane.
Well,
have.
I wouldn't waste your time with it. It's just Samuel Jackson saying a cool line about get these MF and snakes off this MF
Yeah,
and plane.
literally-
right? Best
These
part.
Monday to Friday snakes off this monkey flying. These
Yeah,
monkey flying
monkey
snakes.
flying
snakes.
monkey
Get
fighting
these
snakes on
monkey
this
flying
Monday to Friday
snakes
plane.
off this monkey flying plane. Like the best part of the whole
Yeah.
film, right? You're just like you could live without the whole rest of it. They pretty much made the movie around that line. They're like, you know what, we need Samuel Jackson
Oh yeah, 100%.
to jump
they
in
did.
here
Like,
and do this. They're like, now let's
that's
just
kind
build
of
a movie
It was a
around it.
movie. It was a movie base. It was like an early case of like a meme inspired a movie. Like it's super weird.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either. Idiocracy, which I just rewatched not too long ago, which isn't like an amazing movie by any means, but very interesting given how early they were like everyone's gonna be a complete idiot and ruin the future. And I'm like, wow, we are so in those times right
Everyone's an
now.
idiot, and it's ruining the future.
Like, wow,
Well, they
I can
can't be.
really see the human potential at this point
Well,
going in
they
that
can't
direction.
be. They can't have been that stupid. They elected Terry Crews as president.
And like, but the funniest part is, and it makes me laugh because it was just like how like all the dumb people just over multiply and smart people like just have like normal amount or no kids, and that's how like the world goes to hell. And I was like, actually,
Mm-hmm.
that's probably a very accurate thesis. Like the potential is there. And last but not least, actually least, Larry the Cable Guy, Health Inspector. This was not a good film. Okay, this is like I love your faces. This was not a good film. Like, and it's supposed to be a comedy. I remember going to see it because like I love Larry the Cable Guy, like his jokes and stuff, right? So I
I
thought
mean,
like,
of
oh, the
course,
movie's
yeah.
gonna be solid. It was not. It was not good. But there was one joke in there that like as soon as I saw this, I'm like, that's the only thing I remember, and it sticks with me all the time. It's so funny. Well, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if it's so funny, but it was pretty funny, and it just stuck with me. So he's getting in a fight with someone, and he's in like a public bathroom, and the guy's trying to like I think put his head in the toilet or something. He's like, "You're going down, you piece of shit." And Larry the Cable Guy's like, Larry the Cable Guy's like, "Not me. I'm a floater." So, like the most ridiculous.
Good night, everybody.
It was the most ridiculous line ever. But I was like,
That's all, folks.
that was the only thing that actually made me laugh that whole film. And it's not that great, but I had to applaud the creativity of that because everyone gets called a piece of shit. People just call people, you're a piece of shit all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that he's like, not me, I'm a floater. Like, he's not like, I'm not denying I'm a piece of shit, but I'm one that floats. So good luck with that, buddy. Like, it was just, it was a funny line. So, yeah, that was it. Don't go watch that movie. Just, I already did it for you.
Yeah,
I
don't.
gave you the best part. It was good. There you go. Probably the whole film
there
was,
you
again,
go.
probably just built around that line, just like Snakes on a Plane. Just more Larry the Cable Guy. But, yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty much my list. And we talked a lot more about the actual individual films than I thought we would. But,
There's a lot of crossover. Like I think I have
Mhm.
like
oh, good, good.
I have like 4 films to mention.
Yeah. I pretty much have 4 myself as well at this
Okay.
point. Like Casino Royale was on mine, but we already talked about it. So
Oh, good. So
Well, and,
it
like, I
wasn't
think
like
both me
just
and
my list. We had some crossovers there. That's good.
well, I think both me and Prosser have the Prestige.
yep. So we can talk about that.
And I showed you my list, and you didn't. Like, I don't think the other 3 films were even on yours.
I don't believe so. No.
Cool.
So
Well, yeah.
like we can
So
save.
If I
We'll save the Prestige.
sounds good.
Yeah.
If I had to put a couple on the top, I'd say just for like comedy, entertainment, Accepted would be my top one. Like if I had to watch any of those again, I'd watch Accepted in a heartbeat, and I have. Anytime I see it, I'm like, I'm watching that. Great movie. And then I'd
Nice.
have to give like The Departed and Pursuit of Happiness equal standings on those one. Very good, both for very different reasons, but just great films.
Okay.
Ethan's a weirdo. We don't know what he's doing. Flicking his lip.
I'm making faces in a reflection.
He's like, I have no opinions because I haven't seen those films, so
Apparently.
watch better films.
Ethan's like,
This is now
how
the
about you guys
Raspberry
just watch
podcast.
shit I have seen? That would be
This is
so much easier.
this is now Raspberry ASMR for those who want it.
You're welcome. All right, you floaters. Who's next? I'm gonna call y'all you floater.
That's. Oh my god.
2006, great films, man. Great films.
Yep. I can go next.
Yeah, go. Yeah, let's
So
do that guy.
yeah, no, like I'll try to keep most of my opinions brief. But like
'Cause
there were a handful of ones I really wanted to talk about. First of which is like, if it wasn't for this movie, The Prestige would probably be my favorite movie of this year. But honestly, I know you mentioned it, but Rocky Balboa, I absolutely love this film. It hits me where I live in a lot of ways. Like the first Rocky is obviously a classic, and like I absolutely love like 3 and 4 for just the '80s cheese of
Yeah.
them. And Creed also I would say is like on the same level as the original Rocky as far as like being just a great movie. But like for some reason Rocky Balboa to me is the one I find myself rewatching the most. And on it whenever I need a pick me up or I'm feeling down in the dumps, stuff like that, I put on the speech he gives his
Son.
son.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which like there's a million montages of like inspirational speeches that like have that on
Yep.
there. So like I'll try not to go over it too much. You could look it up. It's a really good speech, but like that is a movie like I am shocked that that movie did not get Stallone an Oscar. Like, and he still has a 1-1 to this day, even though in Creed, I think he's giving an even better performance, like just from a serious dramatic standpoint. But to me, in Balboa, his heart and soul is in that film, and like you can tell, it's like the Rocky films are kind of neat because they almost reflect where Stallone is in his career and life at that given time, because you can tell like the first Rocky, he literally has nothing, and like this is his big shot, and he's going for it. And then throughout the '80s is the massive ego trip version of Stallone, where he's larger than life and literally
Freaking
fights communism
Rambo.
with his fists. Rambo, yep. Um, 5, his career is starting to go down again, and like he's down in the dumps. And then with 6, it's like the big comeback, like he wants to go out and fight one more time. Like it's
It's
like
actually it's a pretty good analogy, actually. Yeah.
yeah, like it's just it's a good reflection of like where his career is at the time. And like to me, Balboa is just such an inspirational movie for me. And like the fight in it at the end is so emotional and well choreographed and great. Um, the villain, well, I don't like to call him a villain, but like Mason Dixon, like the heavyweight champion in it, like he's got a good arc too, because like he starts off being like this super arrogant, like I'm the champion, I'm the best, like, but everyone hates him. To at the end of the movie, from fighting Rocky and all like his interactions with Rocky, he kind of like gets a bit of like his soul back and like the soul of a champion,
He
and
becomes a
like
bit
again
humbled
passing
by
on to
it.
the next.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like becomes more humble and like kind of like it's that a bit of that passing of the torch that to me they do better in Creed, but like that seed of that idea is there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so like I love Rocky Balboa. That movie makes me cry sometimes. Like
Sometimes.
okay, all the time, and yeah, I really enjoy it.
No one's gonna hit you
Um,
as hard as life.
no one gonna hit you as hard as life.
But it ain't no
I
hard
don't know,
you get
Prosser.
hit.
You hit pretty hard.
It's not. It
Yep.
ain't about how hard you hit. It's about hard you can get hit and
Get
keep
hit
moving
and keep
forward.
moving forward. Like,
It's a
like
really good
it's just
like
so good.
speech. Yeah.
Um, yeah,
How
man.
much
No,
you
it's
can
really good.
take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
Yeah. No, so good. You're gonna make me cry just thinking about it.
Just like falling on the. We're just like, and we're gonna take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
I just really love Rocky
Ele-
Balboa so much.
That's how winning
Some
is
elevator.
done.
Yep, some elevator music while I'm recovering.
Dun, dun,
And
dun, dun,
and there's
dun,
also
dun.
there's one of the little lines in there towards the end before the fight where like Mason's telling him like hey man, you don't have to be embarrassed out there, like I'll make sure you look good out there before like you take a fall and all that jazz. And like Rocky's just like, oh, it ain't over till it's over. And Mason's just like, was that some shit from the '80s? I'm pretty sure it's the '70s. Like just a little bits
Yeah.
like that. It's got really good dialogue.
This
You
is
also one more little thing, but like the heartbreak that he has from like because at the beginning of the movie he's going to all the places that like kind of the journey of how he met Adrian and how their relationship started
Yeah.
and all that, and like that stuff also hurts. And then like Burt Young as Paulie, like how he just like he doesn't want to experience those things because like to him these are all bad memories because like he was a horrible brother to her, and like the dynamic that they have because like all they have now is each other, and they have to reconcile that by the end of the movie. Like it's just good stuff, man. Anyway, yeah, Rocky Balboa, I think it's fantastic. I love it.
Can you tell that he really, really analyzed these films and that he loved these movies?
Yeah, like I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry at all, dude. Like,
I was
dude,
thinking, I was like,
when
go ahead.
you're passionate about something and when you love something, you are one of the most insightful people that I know. Like, it's a joy to watch you ramble and rant and explain and dissect these things. Like, it's the reason why I lived with you for as long as I have is just for your rant. But
Yeah.
like, no, like when you're this is why whenever I get mad at you for like not giving me feedback on my scripts, it's because it's like I want to trigger you and make you like this excited about something I write. That's how I know I've actually hit a key with you is when I've given you something to read and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I got to talk about this stuff in detail." Because
Yeah.
again, you're super insightful. And I don't think you know that about yourself a lot of the times, man, but you're incredibly insightful on this stuff. It's like it was
God.
just that was a joy.
Oh my god.
I'd agree, man.
This is
I would
this is
agree.
on record now. Him complimenting me like that. It's on record now. This is definitely staying in the podcast.
Watch, he's gonna hate his own voice, so he's gonna cut out his entire rant.
Don't do it,
So it's
man.
gonna be like,
Don't
yeah,
do it.
It's gonna be like, I love Rocky Balboa, and then it's gonna be me complimenting, man, you're so insightful.
It was pretty good. It's pretty good. Oh, so insightful. Okay, so yeah, Rocky Balboa is definitely my favorite movie of that year. Another movie.
Really?
Yes. The next movie for me would be Pan's Labyrinth. This is just like, I know it's what you haven't seen it.
I have
I'm
not,
assuming, Matt.
nope.
I gotta revisit it. I've only seen it twice.
Yeah. Pan's Labyrinth. Guillermo del Toro directed it. Who doesn't love Guillermo del Toro? It's a really good it's a wartime drama, but it has dark fantasy stuff mixed into it.
Trauma or drama?
Drama. I mean, there's a lot of trauma for sure in that film. Like really, really horrific stuff.
It's actually funny because like the stuff that happens in the real world is so much more brutal than anything that happens in the fantasy world. And the fantasy world is messed up.
Yeah. But it's like the cool thing about that movie, and like there's a lot of ways you can interpret the things that happen within it, because like it takes place in, oh god, I'm gonna screwing this up. I'm pretty sure it takes place in Spain.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, it takes place in Spain during the Second World War, and the primary character, I really should have rewatched the film before doing this, but like the main protagonist is a young girl who's like living in that time, and essentially like watching the movie, you can interpret the fantasy stuff that's happening as like her trying to cope with the horrors of like the war that's happening around her, or is there actually fantasy stuff that is going on around her? Because like there'll be times when like something will happen, like there's this little like root creature that she's taking care of, and like at one point like her mom like takes it and like throws it in a fire, and like she sees it screaming, but obviously the mom doesn't see that happening. It's like, okay, so is it happening in her head, or is it actually like weird fantasy stuff that's going on? Like I don't want to say too much because like I think it's a movie you should watch, Matt. Like it's a really well done film in my opinion. But like yeah, I love Pan's Labyrinth. It's got some fantastic creature designs. Doug Jones is like getting a paycheck in that one. Like he's a suit actor who's like in a lot of stuff. But he's fantastic in it. Like if you've seen The Shape of Water, he plays the fish man in that one.
Oh yeah.
If you've seen Hellboy, he plays the fish man in that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he also plays the fish man in that one. All the fish men. No, Doug Jones is fantastic. Yeah, I wish I had revisited that one to like. I mean, this was last minute, but like Pan's Labyrinth, fantastic movie. I absolutely love it. I have the Arrow release of it. Get the Blu-ray; it's really good. So we'll move on to the next one here. This one I don't have as much to say about it, but like I had a very visceral reaction watching it. Children of Men came out this year.
It did. I haven't seen that one though. I just saw it again. I've just recently seen it on a streaming service somewhere, and I was like, it's on my like list of things to watch. I just haven't got to it yet.
Yeah. It's I think most people know the premise by now. Like basically, like
no one's giving birth, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
basically like literally people just stop giving birth and like they're unable to have kids. So like there is a finite amount of time that humanity is going to last, and it takes place in this dystopian future. Um, and again, I don't really want to give away what happens in the plot because Matt, I would really like, dude, it's such a good movie. But one of the noteworthy things about Children of Men for film nerds out there is for the longest time it had the longest single take of any movie at the time. Like I want to say it was like
It's seemingly because like there are specific points that they did edit in it, but they made it look like it was one take.
yeah, like I want to say the longest part of it was around the 7 minute mark, if I remember correctly. But like really fantastic filmmaking going on there.
See, and it's one of those films that I really liked before I went to film school.
mm,
And then all the film nerds killed it for me because they wouldn't shut up about it. And I was one of those film nerds. I just like, oh yeah, Children of Man, so good, so good. And then eventually I just got burnt out from
Yeah.
it. But like I agree with Prosser. You should definitely check it out. I think you would appreciate
It's
it.
a Clive Owen
Clive
one, right?
Owen.
yeah,
Oh,
Clive
and he's
Owen,
great.
who, as you guys discussed, like Clive Owen's just one of those actors who's just underrated. Like he's just good in pretty much everything he's in.
Wasn't
Um,
he up for Bond
Yes, he was.
for the Daniel Craig
Actually,
era?
to bring it back around to the Casino Royale conversation, he was one of the people who was up to play James Bond in the reboot. So, like, yeah. But he got this instead, and it all worked out. So,
And a cameo in Pink Panther.
There you go.
as
Winning.
as basically James Bond. But yeah, so yeah, Children of Men, also a fantastic film. I feel like I did all the really awesome analysis stuff with Rocky Balboa, and now I'm just progressively getting less and less analytical.
Well, to be
And-
fair, man, most of my stuff was like it's awesome and it has lots of heart. Because it's like sometimes I honestly like I want to do more introspective stuff, but honestly, I'm like, dude, I got like 20 other movies I gotta get through, so let's just like
No, exactly right.
sum
There's only
this
so
up.
much you can do.
No,
Again-
but I appreciate that you're doing that because that's a really good thing to have in here. And that's why I gotta focus myself to like trim down those lists and stuff so we can get a little bit more introspective. And
It's
look
all
at these
good,
things.
man. It's all
The
good.
thing to understand about like Prosser and the Rocky films, though, is he has seen those films probably 20 times each, if not more.
It is very clear.
And
he
Probably,
loves
if I had
them,
to guess.
he has analyzed the crap out of all of them, and that's like the thing is that's how much he loves those films.
It's like my darkest hour.
And like
like,
Well, no, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Matt, you've had your fair share of analysis, and like I'm pretty sure I like to think I have. I don't know. I don't pay attention to myself when I talk half the time.
Yeah, me neither.
But like when it's a film that we're really passionate about, it's stuff that we're really, really, really passionate about, we find these things and we look for those things, and that's the part of the reason we started this whole podcast.
Yeah, that's
because
exactly
we really
it.
liked
We love
like it's that feast.
films. I was just saying, don't feel bad
Yeah.
about it or don't feel like you're not doing enough.
Oh, of
'Cause
course.
it's
Yeah.
great, man.
Oh.
I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
All right.
And now on to the third
Now-
stooge.
And the last film on my list, which does not require any analyzation. This is the action film I was talking
Oh
about.
right, yeah, I forgot about this.
Yes, the last film I wanted to talk about briefly is, of course, Crank.
Oh my gosh.
Because Crank is, when people talk about, like, it's impossible to adapt video games into movies, I disagree. Because Crank is the best adaptation of Saints Row that I have ever seen in my life. This movie is insane. It is Jason Statham at the top of his game. Not necessarily acting-wise, like, obviously the stuff he did with Guy Ritchie, like Snatch and Lock, Stock, like, that's him, like, actually acting and being really good. But as far as, like, the height of Jason Statham as an action star and just doing, like, crazy action flicks, Crank is fantastic. High Voltage definitely gets a lot more attention because they just completely lose the plot and just go completely insane with what the things that happen. Like, there's the kaiju battle that happens in, like, he gets electrocuted and suddenly it's like a Toho monster movie. Like,
Well, and, like two is the head in the tank, right?
yes, Chelios.
Chelios.
Yeah, I saw Crank too. I haven't seen the first one. Yeah.
Yeah, the
The
first
first
one,
one's
like,
actually really good.
like, by comparison, the first one's basically a drama, but, like, there is still some insane stuff that happens in the first movie. Because, like, in the first one's just, he has this poison in his blood, and, like, if his adrenaline drops, he will die.
Isn't that also the
So,
second
like,
one or no? It's the second.
The second
No,
one he needs to
he has
keep
a
electrocuting
battery.
himself.
Yeah, so he has
Or
to
else
keep
his heart will
electrically
stop.
charging
Right?
himself.
That's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
because I'm pretty sure it's on the second one because I remember him like banging
hooked-
a chick on like a horse track. And I
Yeah.
was like, "The
Yep,
hell is
with
going
Because
on?"
he needs
friction.
And I just
friction,
walked.
and I'm like,
I
that's.
just walked into that one time too. I think my brother's watching. I was
I'm
like,
like-
"What the hell is going
Like,
on here?"
what the hell?
I
Yep.
just remember that scene, and I'm like, this is not at all how static electricity
Yeah.
works in the slightest.
Mhm.
What is conducting electricity here?
It's like
Yeah.
just like yeah.
Well, again, they hook him up to a car battery at one point. He just gets supercharged to that, and like Jason Statham's commitment to the insanity that is happening in the
bit, yeah.
movie is why it works. But yeah, no, like I enjoy the first Crank a lot. I do enjoy the second one for the sheer like insanity that
Ridiculousness.
it is. You know, but yeah, like as far as like action flicks go, like I was trying to pick one because like I'm a big action guy, but like the first Crank to me is just a solid fun action flick that just it doesn't give a crap about reality. It just has fun with the premise.
Just have a
and
great
That's
time.
all you can
Yeah.
ask for. 100%, man. So yeah, as far as honorable mentions go, like I had a couple in here, most of which we already talked about. Um, Beer Fest was one that I enjoyed that came out this year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like just a fun movie. Lots of drinking jokes, like, and of course, like they did Pot Fest as a sequel, but like I never saw that one. But like Beer Fest was a pretty fun
Beer
little
Fest
comedy.
the one where that guy was in like the tank and then he drank all the beer instead of drowning or something like that? Was that the
Yes.
same film?
Well, like he gets in the tank, he tries to drink it all, but like he ends up drowning. But then in the next scene, his twin brother shows up,
Oh yeah.
and
yeah.
they have a whole scene about like, oh, I think my brother would love if you just called me his name in his honor. Oh man, it's as if you never even died.
That's what it was. He was like drowning,
And I'm
then
actually-
he decided to try and drink all the beer in the tank.
Yes, and then he ends up dying anyway, and then his twin brother shows up, and it's like, and I'm actually better at drinking beer than my brother, and it's like, what the hell is happening in this movie?
It was the most ridiculous thing. Yeah, no, yeah.
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 So
I
yeah,
know which one you're
so, yeah,
talking
Beer
about,
Fest.
That one wasn't
Beer
terrible.
Fest as far as it's just a fun, like a fun, ridiculous movie.
not as good
like,
as those
again,
other funny ones, but
has fun with the premise.
yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the Wicker Man remake came out this year. The internet has talked to death about the Wicker Man remake. Everyone loves Nick Cage, but this movie was a sight to behold, to say the least. You know the Wicker Man remake, yes?
No.
Oh boy,
You don't know about the bees?
No.
Not the bees? They're in my eye.
No.
They're in my eyes. Oh my god.
Nicolas Cage punches a bear?
No.
Well, a lady in a bear costume. Oh no,
What's the difference?
yeah, but wow,
Equally ferocious.
Yes, but no, like the Wicker Man remake. It's a terrible movie, but like there's entertainment to be had. And then the last movie I wanted to bring up is a movie called Hatchet, which is just kind of like a loving tribute to like 80s slasher films that came out that year. Had a couple cameos from like some big names like Robert Englund, of course, who played Freddy. The main slasher is actually played by Kane Hodder, who played Jason in like Friday the 13th Part 7 to like Jason X. So like
okay.
that period of time. So like has that one of the original Jason actors. And then Tony Todd shows up in a bit and like his cameo's hilarious. Again, not an amazing movie, but like if you're a fan of like 80s slasher flicks and you kind of just want a good
they're
time,
fun,
like
yeah.
it's a good one to watch. So yeah, and then yeah, I think that's it for me as far as my list is concerned. There's a lot of pretty solid movies that came out that year, obviously, that we talked about. Like some of the movies you already talked about, Matt, so I don't really need to bring them up. But yeah, overall, really solid year.
Cool.
All right.
Well, I guess
Amigo.
I can wrap up the last little bit here. I don't have nearly as much to talk about as you guys because we already talked about most of them. But I guess to start off, Pink Panther was one that I think a lot of people hate on because it's not like the original Pink Panther.
It's like the Steve Martin one, right?
So I've never seen the original Pink Panther, so I don't have the context of that. But as its own movie, I have fun with it. It's a campy Steve Martin movie.
Yeah.
And it's just fun and it's funny, and I was watching it a few nights ago, and like it's just got some really fun jokes in it.
Like
So,
the
that's
hamburger part,
really-
like hamburger.
The hamburger scene, the brass
Hamburger.
balls. I would like to take a look at your balls, your big brass balls.
Oh, okay.
And like,
Or his
and Steve Martin's like he's a great actor to put in there, right? Like he's
Oh yeah, and
such a funny
he's
dude.
hilarious.
Mhm.
I can't comment on how it compares to the original because again, I haven't seen it. But like for its own thing, standing on its own, not having that shadow, which is hard when it's the Pink
Yeah.
Panther. Like it's,
It's a pretty big franchise, yeah.
but like I enjoy it quite a bit. Next film I'll bring up is Night at the Museum. I think it's a family
I
film.
knew
It's
you
a
were gonna
kids
bring
film, but
that
I
up.
think it's
I was like,
highly
Ethan's putting
underrated.
this on his list. I'm like, I put money on it.
Well, me and Prosser marathon the three of them. I think I mentioned that actually a couple podcasts ago. Like we marathoned the three of them over a weekend once because he'd never seen any of them, and I wanted to rewatch the first one. And we just kind of kept going, and honestly, no, it's a really fun film.
Yeah.
Like it's a real good family picture. It's not boring for adults. Like it's just a really solid flick.
Yep. Good for the kids, good for the adults. Just a good time.
Just a good
Now-
time for all.
The next film to mention is just good for the adults, and that is The Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny.
Yes.
That's also
That
on my
is,
watch list. That's literally the next movie
You've never-
on my
wait, have
Amazon.
you never
I
seen it?
haven't
God.
seen it. I haven't seen it,
Ah,
and I've been
man.
wanting to see it forever, but I've just never got
you are
the
gonna
chance
like
to
it.
do it.
You would dig it, dude.
I saw it on Amazon Prime, so it's on my watch list, and it's literally I think the next movie or the next like the second movie that's on my list that I'm going through right now.
Well, I hope you watch and I hope you like it. I enjoy it quite a bit. It's a dumb comedy, but it's super fun and super weird.
Freaking Jack Black,
Yeah.
man, it's awesome.
Yeah, dude.
Jack
no,
Black, Kyle Gass.
Yep.
You get Dave Grohl surprise at the end.
Yep. Oh, it's
Cool,
glorious
cool.
when it happens. Yeah. We're
But,
not gonna
like-
give you the context, but like, yeah, it's amazing when it happens.
Yeah, like no, man. It's just a really solid flick and it's just fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if either of you have seen it, and I don't know if you guys have strong opinions on it. But a film that gets crapped on way too much for what it is, that I think people need to give more of a chance to, is Superman Returns.
Never saw it actually.
This
So
is
Superman,
one. So this is one that you've been meaning to
This
show
is the
me.
one with Brandon Routh, though.
yes, Superman Returns is the one with Brandon Routh, and a lot of people when it came out hated it because, well, why was he against Lex Luthor again? This is stupid and all this kind of stuff. Because like, honestly, up until this point, yes, he's only fought Lex Luthor in movies and then a couple side villains, but Lex Luthor's always been a mainstay. And in this one, the whole idea was this: is they were retconning that entire universe. So it was going to be Superman, Superman 2. They were going to forget 3 and 4, and Superman Returns was going to take place sometime after 2.
Oh, okay. I was
So
just
it's
that was
in
my
the
next
same
question. I was
universe
gonna
as
ask:
the-
is it actually supposed to be the same Superman from like the Christopher
Yes.
Reeve days?
Yep.
Okay.
And that's part of actually why Brandon Routh got the role, is because he looks like Christopher Reeves a little bit. And apparently I was watching an interview with him recently, and that's one of the reasons why his first agent picked him up, was because this guy looks like he could play Superman, and that would be good to have in my back pocket. And then the agent dumped him before he got the role as Superman,
So good plan, man.
right?
That's hilarious.
But,
This guy looks like he plays Superman.
We were so
damn it.
close to greatness.
I was so right,
But-
but also so
They were
wrong.
trying to reboot that universe.
Right.
And this is actually the project that Bryan Singer left X-Men for to do.
Oh, okay.
And the problem with that, though, is it didn't make enough money. Like, it still made a decent amount of money. Like, it made a lot of money, but it didn't make enough for them to justify a sequel, and there was enough backlash that people just didn't like it.
I mean, in retrospect, there's a lot of problems with Bryan Singer being in that movie.
Oh, no, like, well, yeah, I mean, like, we can talk about Lex Luthor being Kevin Spacey, too.
Yeah.
Which,
I
like,
mean, if anything, that just makes the villain more compelling.
and, like, the stupid thing,
You
this is
got
why
it
I'm
all
so mad
wrong,
about
man.
it, too. His performance as Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor is so good, though, and I'm so mad that he's a terrible person, because he was really good
Isn't it
in that movie.
dude? I was talking to my wife about this the other day because we were talking about people who are like, not part of the cultural zeitgeist anymore. because they were
Yep.
honestly just being terrible human beings. Not necessarily the
Mhm.
ones that were just like, oh, I said this thing and then I got fired, but like the ones who were actually terrible, being terrible human,
Legitimately
like do
awful
actions
people.
and things that were just like, what are you doing? And
Legitimately ruined lives,
yeah,
and
because we were talking about Louis C.K. and I was like, God damn it, Louis C.K. Why couldn't you just keep your dick in your pants, man? Like, come on, like, because we saw him on Parks and Rec, and I was like, I totally forgot about Louis C.K. And I'm like, he
Yep.
was really funny. Like, he had some really great stuff out there, and you're
Mhm.
just like, but like now anything you can't watch anything like you can watch old stuff. I think there's a rule you can watch old stuff, right? Because how do you get away with you can't get away from that, right? Like that's before,
No.
but like anything new that comes out after that, which obviously he doesn't have, but it's like there's so many people who are so talented, but then they just were like, I decided to be terrible
The
people or
entire
decide to
time,
give into the vice of popular,
the entire
you
time they
know,
were secret assholes,
yeah,
right?
and you're
Like
just
that's just
like,
Mhm.
basically
come
it.
on, man, come on,
And that's where again, like it's an extra layer to the tragedy of this movie because like a lot of it is so good and so Superman. The costume is on point. Even again, people complain about the script because it's like and I actually have to preface this with I haven't watched this movie in a while and I do want to revisit it to make sure that my opinions of it aren't
yeah,
skewed. But the story is fun and it's a good place to restart that universe to a point where you can bring in new things that weren't going to be Lex Luthor as the threat.
right, and build on it from
Mhm.
there.
It was the problem is a lot of the people who were going were people who grew up watching that the 70s Superman. So they already
Yeah.
had these strong opinions. If it was like 10 years later and they did this, so like Man of Steel
Yeah,
basically, if
Mhm.
this movie was in place of Man of Steel, I guarantee you it would have done gangbusters because people wouldn't have cared. They would have been like, "Oh man, it's in the same universe as that one. Great, cool, more adventures, awesome."
yeah. Well, what there's
Mm.
a 6 years difference
And like,
between that, right? 6 years?
I think so. Yeah.
No, there was more than 6 years. Sorry, 7,
yeah, because 2006 to 2014,
13.
13.
I think it's
I
13.
thought it was 13.
Yeah,
Dark
then that'd
Knight,
be 7 years.
Dark Knight Rises was 2012, right? I think Man
Mhm.
of Steel came out the next year. I want to say
Yeah, I think you're right.
we
Yeah,
did talk about this already in the podcast, so we'll just go back and find the year, I guess. But something
but
like that,
either
six
way,
to
like
seven years,
it's one of those
or
films
seven,
that
8, I guess.
if you can get past, especially like if you can get past the modern problems with it being specifically Bryan Singer and Kevin Spacey, then it's fine. That's great. And I think again, it got a lot of hate for the plot. A lot of people just hated it for no reason, and I think it's just a fun, good Superman film. And I watch it mainly for Brandon Routh as Superman because he was
Hmm.
amazing. He was so good as it.
Hmm.
Had a really good balance of that Clark Kent Superman that Christopher Reeves already set up.
Yep.
So I really like that one. And that's kind of it's also where my bitterness towards Man of Steel came from is because like I wanted to see more of that.
Right. And they went a completely different
And then I
direction.
got yeah, I got grimdark Superman, and that's the problem that I had with it. Is like I wanted to see the hopeful Superman. Like
Like,
he's a little broody in it, but like he's still hopeful at the end of the day. And you don't really get that with unfortunately Henry Cavill Superman, which is a shame because I know he could
Yeah.
do it.
mhm.
I know he
They were
the
just taking
dude's one of
like
the
the
most
long
charismatic
road to get
people
the
ever.
character there, right? Like
But he shouldn't need a long road to get the
that's a
character
fair
there.
argument.
He's always
Yeah.
been like that. Like aside from when he
I
was a broody
personally liked
teenager.
Man of Steel. I thought it had a lot of really good things in it. But
I also like Man of
I
Steel, man.
understand why people don't like that, and that's fine by me. Like I know I'm in the minority here. But I'm not obviously going to say it's a perfect
I
movie either. Like, you know, it has its flaws and
no.
problems,
I
but I overly like there's more positivity for me in some of like the themes and the relationships and the connections that they have um that make more sense to me because I'm not honestly like I was never a huge Superman fan. Um like the
that's
cartoons,
fair.
sure, and like Justice League and stuff like that, right? Like but I was never invested
Mhm.
in the
Yeah.
comics. I was never invested in like the Christopher Reeve movies. Obviously never saw Superman Returns. Um so it's like I'd seen bits and pieces of those films, but Man of Steel was the first real Superman film I'd probably watched. Honestly, when I think about it, from beginning to end, right? So like I was
Okay,
coming
that
in
makes
with a
sense
lot
though.
less baggage than majority of people. So the way I see things and the way I look at that film is probably a lot different than the majority of people who dislike it, it's for sure.
And I think the best way that I can describe like what's missing in Superman, specifically with like Henry Cavill Superman, is there's a few scenes in the animated series and just in general where it's like Superman's trying to intimidate criminals and they all know he's full of it.
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna totally beat you up." And they're like, "No, you're not. You're a Boy
Yeah.
Scout."
Yeah,
And the thing is with Christopher Reeves and Brandon Routh, you could believe that criminals would react to them that way and be like, "Yeah, no, you're too
Yeah.
clean." With Henry Cavill, I feel like he's still just going to punch your
Yeah.
face in. Like he's missing that Boy Scoutness. He's missing that purity. And like I know he could do it. I know he could portray that, but
hmm
he's not
Well, you
allowed
kind of get
to.
flashes of that at the end of the original, or like not the original Justice League, the one that isn't the Snyder Cut Justice League. At the end of that film, you
yeah.
start
Mm-hmm.
getting those hints, and you're like, "Wow!" Now, if you kept that character going from then on, I think Henry Cavill's Superman would be a very
That's
different Superman than what he was before.
that's
Yes.
the annoying thing
And
for
that
me.
is the
It's like,
frustrating part because
okay,
Henry Cavill's such a
we've
good performer. He has it in him.
I feel like he never got a proper run at the
Yeah.
character. I think is the
A
real
hundred
thing. Like,
percent.
and I think somewhere between Man of Steel. Again, I have not watched Superman Returns, but I like kind of know some of the stuff that happens in it, the tone and all that. But there is somewhere between the Man of Steel Superman and like some of the stuff doing that movie and the Christopher Reeve Superman. Somewhere in between those two, like
Is like perfect Superman,
there's that perfect
Yeah.
balance, and like
as all things should be.
yeah, and honestly, like for me, like I've said it once, I've said it again. Man of Steel is my favorite Dragon Ball Z movie of all time, um, and like the more and more I've learned about Superman, it's not like it's not like I still really I like that movie for what it is. It's not exactly like a Superman movie, but like I do enjoy that movie for what it is. It doesn't exactly get very good follow ups to pay off on the
He
things
set
that
up.
it
Yeah.
sets up. But overall, like I can still go back and watch Man of Steel and I could get some
Yeah.
enjoyment out of it. I
It's
do.
it's a fun film. It's just not a good Superman movie. It's the same thing. Like it's the same way I feel about Dark Knight. It's a good film. It's just not a good Batman movie, right? Like that's kind of how I feel about it. Where it's like it's missing the heart of what makes the character the
And I
character.
feel like I feel like just for myself, right? Because we talked about this with the Dark Knight, and we'll talk about I
Yeah.
guess even with Man of Steel too. And I think it's that same idea that it's kind of I'm almost representing in that situation or in those situations more of like I think the majority of the movie going audience, like not the comic book fans, not the people coming in with history and ideas on what things should be or shouldn't be or whatever. Like we're just coming in to watch like a film. We're just coming to see characters and in the world,
Mhm.
and so
Yeah.
we're accepting them in the world that they are in, and in those worlds that they created in the Dark Knight, in the worlds that they created even in Man of Steel, like that Zack Snyder created. In that world, it makes sense that he is the way he is, right? Like, and the thing about Superman is like
My
he like for me when I watch that, it's like so much about that stuff. It's like that's human. Like I understand that. Like there's a lot of human depth there. But Superman isn't human, man. Like he's supposed to be above us. Like he's supposed to be something else. Supposed to be our hope, right? Um, like
yeah.
so I understand. Obviously, in
Well, and
past
that's
tense, or now, like as you understand the character a little bit more and what he all represents, you see why people were obviously upset with the version they got.
Mhm.
well, and that's where for me it's I have a pretty strong stance on like especially if you're portraying this character as like what your main universe is. If you're portraying it like the amount that Batman Begins and Dark Knight affected the comics, and even the amount that like Man of Steel affected the comics. The problem I have with that is that you're letting looser interpretations of what these characters are affect the main of what that character actually is, and that's where I kind of have. I'll admit it's a very strong opinion and a very narrow-minded opinion, and I openly accept anyone to disagree with me on it. But I think if you're gonna adapt a character and completely abandon most of what makes that character a character, that you shouldn't be adapting that character.
Hmm.
Because if you're just gonna use the name, it's the same thing. It's the same way I feel about like the Child's Play remake, Even what's another one I've talked about before?
Oh God.
There's a bunch
There's
though
so
where
many.
they take the name Fantasy Island. They're like, oh well,
Fantasy
it's
Island. Oh my God.
they slap on the name of this iconic thing, and they're like, oh yeah, it's totally the same thing, and it's completely different, or it has very little in common with what the source
Right.
material is. And that's again, it's losing the heart of that adaptation. And like I'm cool with weird adaptations, especially like some of my favorite stories in the comics are like what ifs and Elseworlds, where it's like, hey, what if it's Batman but he's a vampire, right? Or like one of my favorite stories is Superman Red Sun, where he lands in Russia
Instead
as
of
opposed
yeah,
to the States. And
That's such a good story.
I love those, but the problem that I have and like and it's again not specifically you, but it's a good chunk of the fan base who comes in without knowledge of this character previously and goes like, "Oh, that is what Superman is, and that's what he should be in every other
right.
adaptation. That's what Batman is, and that's what he should like." Batman didn't used to have a deep, dark, gravelly voice every time he talks until the
The Nolan ones.
Nolan movies, and now it's in everything. We have to hide his voice. Someone can't just change their pitch. They have to now add a modulator onto his voice. Why? Why can't he just manipulate his voice and change his pitch a bit? Like, it's one of my favorite concepts for a Batman film is to actually like you should cast two actors, one to be Bruce Wayne and one to be Batman in the suit. So you have completely different voices. You have the same face shape. Like cast someone who has a similar face jaw in the cowl, but it's a completely different actor. So his voice is just completely different. But you're like, no, that's just Bruce Wayne. That's just what Batman does. He changes his voice enough, and like, it's things like that where, again, it's the problem I have is it's inherently changing the character. But at the same time, I guess characters do change and evolve with time, and that's
In
just
different mediums,
life.
right? Like in different mediums and different renditions. Like I agree with you for sure, to a point. But then like for me, then there's also the difference of renditions. And like the next Superman is still gonna be a Superman, but it's clearly gonna be quite different from Henry Cavill's Superman, right? And like, but they're still both in their own way Superman, right? In their own worlds of existence. I think that's kind of where the line crosses. I think you bring up a valid point when you have those aspects from the films coming into the comics. Now you're bleeding into other things. Well, that becomes a problem in itself, right?
Well, that's where
Yeah.
the design of armor plating after Dark Knight happened. Everyone in the comics had armor plating, including
Yeah,
Superman.
like why does
Why would
Superman need
Superman
armor
need
plating? Yeah.
armor?
Yeah, it's the silliest thing.
Like, so it's stuff like that where it's just like it's okay. Like, there's nothing. The reason why spandex worked for comics was because it's easier to draw
Yeah.
the form rather than worry about adding a bunch of
Pieces and
armor
stuff.
plating on it.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they're like, but it's got to be realistic. And it's like, you're DC Comics. You literally deal in gods. It doesn't
Literally,
need to be
yeah.
realistic.
Yeah. No.
Fictional characters. Do you follow me?
I like, man, and I get you, dude, because I was just thinking when you were talking about that, because I'm a pretty big fan of Assassin's Creed, or like I don't know. I really enjoy the
What?
games. Like they got really great social stealth.
Mhm.
But if you play Assassin's Creed 1 and then you go play Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you're like, are these even the same freaking game, man? Because like the originals, they
Yeah.
used to be really grounded in like reality. Like it was kind of like it was a
Yep.
pretty close to accurate, somewhat historical retelling of certain events and stuff. Obviously exaggerated, right?
Mhm.
For the whole kind of bit more
Yeah.
sci-fi kind of element of it. But it was social stealth. It was grounded. It was like historic. And now they're like all about like, oh, we're bringing in now gods and werewolves and like different mythological beasts and shit. So they're bringing in like the fantasy elements into it, and it's like, and they're making it more of
Like,
like a just. It's not a social stealth game anymore. You know what I mean? Like they're totally changing it,
Yep.
but it's like a totally different game, but they're still like slap on Assassin's Creed. Like
Yeah.
and so I kind of get what you're saying when you're saying like renditions and like when they change but they're still slapping the same name on, but you're like that's nothing
Mhm.
what this original looks like, what the heart and soul of the series is. So I kind of understand that when you're
And
talking about Superman. I get where you're coming from.
And that's basically it. And that's where I feel Superman Returns really held on to that's what Superman
Yeah.
was. Right? And that's especially as like a kid, as I said, I think 15-year-old kid going to see a Superman film in theaters for the first time. was amazing. It was such a good experience. Like, I loved it. But I think we should move on to the Prestige and wrap this
Man,
guy
we just
up.
love talking about, like, we get into comic book stuff. It's like, okay, man, stop everything, guys. We gotta talk about this for like half hour. Okay?
So now, I know you mentioned a comic book that has nothing to do with anything with Avengers, but now talking about Avengers.
Exactly.
This is good stuff.
But so Matt, you haven't seen the Prestige, so me and Prosser won't talk about it that much.
Oh, you guys go ahead. It's
Yeah.
not on my
But
list anywhere. But...
No,
You
but
need
this
to
is
see
need
the
to see it?
Prestige. Like, you need
Hey,
to see
Prosser?
the Prestige.
Hey
Yeah.
Prosser, you like Christopher Nolan fans, right? You like Christopher Nolan films, right?
I would say so, yes. Like, overall, I do enjoy the man's work.
Matt, do you enjoy Christopher
say
Nolan
so, yeah.
films? Yeah. This is Christopher Nolan's best movie, in my opinion.
Yes, it is his best movie. 100%.
Like, hands down, it's all like the twists and turns of his normal stuff, but like in a very like I can't even say
This
it's a
is like the
straightforward
Magic
story.
one, right?
Like,
Okay.
yes,
Yes.
and it is excellently acted. The story is
Magic?
fantastic. Like, the story is great.
The acting's fantastic. The cast is great. Of course, you get the Michael Caine, which is a staple of
Chris
a
Nolan.
good Christopher
Yeah.
Nolan film.
There is nothing that I can think of that is wrong with this movie.
Nothing you would
Yeah.
change at all, eh? Just
It is.
love it.
No,
Nothing.
like, The Prestige is like damn near a perfect film in my opinion. Like
it
it's-
is.
like, because I know a lot of people obviously like the Dark Knight gets cited a lot as like, oh, the Dark Knight, that's like the pinnacle of what he's ever done. Like, a lot of people love Inception. There's a lot of things that are really good about Inception. And,
People love Interstellar too, right? Like, it's
Yep. but like,
and
to
like
me,
no one talks about the Prestige.
Mhm.
But anytime I've mentioned it to like a Christopher Nolan fanboy, they're like, "Oh yeah, the Prestige is amazing,"
yeah,
and like it's just one people
Yeah.
forget about.
yeah, no, it is. I man, every time I think about just like the way the story unfolds and just like little things they do, like again, I don't want to like spoil
So
something.
they tell
but,
you
like,
the way they tell the story is expertly crafted.
yeah,
It's worth a rewatch after you watch it the first time because you'll notice
Yeah.
things.
there's
and
so many
little
little
hints.
things that set up where it goes. Well, it's like the film is literally set up like how a magic trick is constructed, and like by the time you get to like the actual trick and after it's happened, then you can go back and analyze how they got
Right.
you there, and like it's got a whole other meaning to it. Like it like and like to me that's a storytelling technique he's used in a lot of films that came out after that, whether it's like Inception or Interstellar, what have you. Like, it's the idea of all these little things that you don't really think about as much the first time you watch, but after you've finally seen like what the movie
bigger
has been
picture,
building
yeah.
up to, yeah, you kind of rewatch it again. And it's a different film
See,
entirely.
now,
So
now I'm afraid you've said too much though. Like that's like I'm afraid you might have said
Oh
too much
no,
about
I'm
it.
pretty dumb. I'm sure I'll have no idea what's going on.
yeah, man.
All I know is it's very very well worth the watch. Like
It's going on the
Yeah.
list, man.
it is my top film of
Is
2000.
it streaming anywhere?
It would be.
Who's got
It
that?
would have been my top film if it wasn't for Rocky Balboa.
It's Rocky.
Is that on Disney Plus now? Is that a Fox film?
I
Rocky?
think so. I could be wrong.
Oh,
No.
I was like,
No.
Rocky? I don't
The
think so, man.
Prestige.
Prestige.
I
It's got to be somewhere out there, man.
take a
But
look.
like,
Also, it's briefly worth mentioning that this is another case of like either parallel thinking or a studio heard that one studio was doing one kind of movie and they wanted to do another one. Because
oh yeah, because The Illusionist came out.
yes,
And did anyone watch The Illusionist?
no.
No.
This where we find out Matt's actually a massive fan of The Illusionist. It's what you guys have.
I haven't seen
The
that one either.
Illusionist?
The only magic ones I've kind of seen is like Now You See Me, but it's kind of like magic, but like
Those are fun too. Like,
So like, now imagine if Now You See Me was good. And I like Now
it
You
wasn't
See
bad.
Me. It's not a great film.
No.
It's just it's
yeah,
a fun
yeah,
film.
it's not like a masterpiece by any means.
but it's a good one. It's
Yeah.
fun. But yeah, no, Prestige, solid friggin' movie. again,
watch
would have
it.
talked about it, but I knew Ethan was going to talk about it, so yeah,
I'd say, but it's a good film and everyone needs to watch it. Like it's so
No.
good.
yeah,
No.
100%.
All right. Well, I mean that went a lot longer than we thought, but I guess let's
It's like
wrap
some
this
original
up.
episode timing, man. Woo! That was a
Yeah,
good
we're
chat,
gonna.
though. I love it.
So we're gonna cut it short without a question of the day, but don't worry, you'll get 3 of them next week.
Hold on to your
So that's
hats,
gonna be
ladies
fun.
and gentlemen. Hold on.
So come back next week to hear us talk about what we think are the worst inventions for film. I'm very curious to hear my fellow podcasters' thoughts. Let us know what your favorite films of 2006 are underneath. Mr. Prosper, thank you for coming along with us on this ride. Where can the good people find you?
People can find me on Instagram at thatjprosser. You'll honestly, it's mostly just random stuff I do in everyday life, but sometimes I've got stuff related to my work, props I've built, things like that. I have a YouTube channel as well. Do look up Jesse Prosser on YouTube. I got some short films on there if you want to check them out. You can find mine and Ethan's film Damned Rights at realhouse.com.
Jesse Prosser is the co-director of Damned Rights, and so you can find our film. Where can they find it, Prosser?
Realhouse.com. You can
.org,
find
actually. It's realhouse.org.
Oh my god.
There's a link down.
At least I know where you can find our
There's a
film.
link for that.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. At least they know where they can find that.
You'll find some stuff.
Go watch it. You can watch him die. He dies in the film, and it is
spoiler alert.
When it's the highlight of the film, it's not a spoiler.
No, that's fair. Buddy.
It's a selling
That's
feature.
how winning is
it's
done.
on the frickin' poster, so they get no. So yeah, that's basically it. Instagram, the film, YouTube.
So same as me.
Same as you, yeah, basically.
All right, Matt, where can they find you?
You can find me at Storytellers for Life YouTube channel right here on good old YouTube. Come on by, hang out. It's all about helping storytellers believe in their dreams, live their purpose, and of course, tell their stories. I just put out episode 3 of my interview with Sarah DeWard, who's a brand new author. Her book's going to be coming out on store shelves soon. She's going to be coming out very soon. It's going to be great
Saskatoon.
soon. And no, but she's great. Like, she's such a genuine just one of those
Energy,
just amazing
joy.
human beings, right? That you just wish all the success for. And if you go watch her interview, you're going to be like, "Oh damn, no. She's really like she's just got a really good heart, really good soul." And she went through the ringer. Like, we know on this journey, you guys are filmmakers. You're working your way through. It's not just straight path up. It's ups and downs. And she had some deep downs. And, now she's fulfilling her dreams. So go check out that interview. She's really great. If you're working your way, whether it's to, films or storytelling, or even just in life, whatever you're working towards, man. Like, she's got an inspiring story. Just because you take a big loss doesn't mean the story's over. Go check out her interview. It was really great talking to her. She was awesome. Anyway, Storytellers for Life, link down below.
Nice.
Ethan?
And I guess
Or did Prosser
I guess
cover
you
that
guys know
for
where
you?
you can find me. Well, you can find me at Instagram at Ethan R. Hill. You can also find me on YouTube at Ethan R. Hill. And you can find our feature film, Damned Rights, at realhouse.org. There's a link below, and I think that was said much more eloquently than my filmmaking partner, and you can tell why I'm the writer.
I'm also
it's true.
I might also be in that film somewhere. I think I have a cameo. Like, it's like a bucket of chicken somewhere. That's usually me.
I don't think so, Matt.
There's no
I don't
chicken?
think we actually had
Okay,
any.
maybe, like,
No,
There's
I'm
no
pretty
chicken
sure.
in that film except me. But that's
oh, I
another thing
actually think I was cameoed as one of those pebbles on like the driveway or something.
It could have been.
I'm
Possibly,
pretty
yeah.
sure. Uncredited though. Uncredited.
I don't think you are, Matt. Somehow I have a cameo in our film because I'm a random hand that just pops into frame once that wasn't supposed to be my hand. It was one of the actress's hands, but they had left already. We're like, we need this shot.
Who's got the
All
most
right.
feminine hands here? Come on, man. Bring it on.
Yep.
Well, I mean, when I don't have big meaty claws like Mr. Prosser.
Yeah.
It's true.
Big meaty claws.
Well, these claws ain't just for attracting mates. Anyway,
Well,
it's Mr. Krabs. Calm down.
man, you need to get some culture and watch some SpongeBob.
I did.
Yeah,
I used
geez,
to watch
Matt.
SpongeBob all the time. Let's see. I haven't watched it
Get
recently.
your shit together.
Come on, Matt. Well, on that happy note, I think it is time to wrap this episode up. This has been another episode of A Feast of Films. I'm Ethan R. Hill, and with me, as always, is...
Matthew Ayalew.
And joining us today again is...
Jesse Prosser.
All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
So long.
Bye-bye.
Toodaloo.
Hey!
Yeah, baby. Yeah.